You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, we are in the final days of July, and we're about to get on to August. Ooh, this summer has gone. It's gone. I'm like, like, is it just me or is the summer going by fast? Like, we're going to jet set into fall. Next thing I know, I'm going to blink and it's going to be September. Let me not jinx myself. But no, really though, I feel like I can like blink, my eyes and it will be September. Cause already I've been planning for fall like deep. Like my fall is about to be like productive. I'm not going to say busy. I do not like to use the word busy. My word is productive. When people come to me and go, "Oh, you look like you're very busy. You're busy." No. Productive. Productive. Because productive is being purposeful in your work. I feel like when people say they're busy, busy just feels like a filler word, Like, "Oh, I'm busy. I'm busy today." What does that really mean, busy? A lot going on. But like, I just feel like it's a throwaway word. But when you say productive, that means you got some shit to do and you're doing it with purpose. So when people say, "Oh, you seem like you're busy," that just feels fluttered to me. That just feels crowded. That feels like a lot is going on in no direction. I don't. Now, does busyness happen for me sometimes? Yes, where you're just flustered and overwhelmed with a bunch of shit and you don't know what you're doing and it's all over the place. I've had moments like that where I'm thrown into shit and I'm like, what's going on? Or you going somewhere and then somebody throws something at you at the last minute. That's what busy feels like to me. And we all have those experiences sometimes, like uncontrolled chaoticness. But things that are of my choosing, of my purpose and my direction, where I'm walking into a doctoral program, I'm taking on, working on my book. I'm wrapping it up, the edits on, and doing all that. I'm teaching. I don't feel like that's busy for me. I feel like to say that's busy is like I'm choosing chaos and it's just chaotic and I'm just like overwhelmed. No, productive, because I'm choosing to give myself things to do with meaning and purpose into myself. So I always like to say productive rather than busy. I feel like busy is just a very passive word. And oftentimes when I hear people say busy, especially around me, it doesn't sound, I feel like sometimes people say busy, they do mean busy, but like when I hear people say busy, it often feels like they're just burdened. And I don't want, when I talk about the things that I'm blessed to be able to do, that it sounds burdensome in a way that it sounds exhausting. If it sounds not enjoyable. Like when people enjoyable, like when people say things like, "Oh, you're busy, you have a lot going on," it just feels like, like I don't want to describe what I'm doing as busy. If it's stuff that I like to do. Now, things that are annoying, things that are chaotic, oh, that's busy. Like when I was in that line for hours during the Roots picnic, that was busy. Cause that shit was just like, what the hell? That was busy. I was busy in that damn line. There was a lot going on. It was just too much going on, actually. It was not enjoyable. That was busy. But doing the things I love to do, productive. So, I don't know. When you think about, I've just taken, I guess because I'm a writer, I savor the words. I think about the words I use. And I think the older I get, the more mindful I become about how I describe things and how I say things. Because I do think words do matter. Otherwise, why are we using language? Why are we speaking if words don't hold weight? So when I hear people say, "Oh, words don't matter, actions," no. All of these things carry weight. Actions, they say actions speak louder than words. I debate that sometimes. I think these things are not in competition with each other. I think these things are working in tandem of each other. I think verbalizing and speaking your vision out loud empowers you to take action. And I think that when you don't use words to verbalize your vision or your ideas, and you don't spell them out, you lack the accountability on yourself to actually execute them. When I verbalize and I say, I am going to do this, I've actually set accountability on myself. I say, I'm not going to accept that today. I am going to go after my dreams today. I am going to let this person know how I feel. When I speak it out loud and I use words where I communicate that, there's a timestamp there. There's an accountability place there. And that automatically is a proof of concept, right? You say the thing, there's something there. When you make actions and you don't say words, I sometimes think you really can't define what the experience is. See what I'm doing here? Do you understand me? Do you understand what I'm saying here? I had this whole conversation a couple of weeks ago with a friend. And so, for example, right? This is a friend who was telling me about a dating situation. And this is why I tell people that words and actions, they have to be in alignment. Words without actions are in vain, but actions without words are also in vain too. Think this through. So this friend of mine, they were dating someone. There was actions being done. And anybody listening already can say, oh, I see where you're going here. Oh, you're right. Okay, I see this. I know what you're about to say. You might. And I think we are on the same page. If you are, I can see, because people have debated me about this. I've debated this in Oxford. Okay, I was at the Oxford Union debate, and this man said words don't matter, is what people do. I was like, Anybody who's lived can tell you that words and actions carry weight. I think some people just like to just say slogans and just say slogans, but they don't think it through. I think through. Just because something is a commonly held concept or phrase don't mean that you should just subscribe to it because it's the popular thing. We need to interrogate our language and the words we use and the phrases we use, understand what they mean, and also apply it to ourselves. But I digress. So they were dating someone. There was a lot of actions being made. When it was all said and done, they got to the point of, where are we? And this person said, why do we gotta label this? What do you mean? Like, are you my boyfriend? Are we girlfriend? Are we dating? Are we in a relationship? Like, and they were like, well, let my action show. They was like, yeah, but we're doing things. But what is I need to know what the placement is, because there's a lot of commitments and there's emotions and there's time, but what are we? And this person verbally said to them that, we have a connection, but we're not in a relationship. They did not define what they were doing as an intimate relationship. My friend in the situation was like, well, I feel like you wasted my time. You did this, you did that. And they were like, well, I care for you. But again, there was no placement. Now, I had told them, okay, when this was brought to me several months prior, I told them, I said, hey, I think, and by the way, they're not mad that I'm sharing this. Clearly, I got the clearance on this before I shared this. So it ain't none of that going on, okay? See how words matter? Consent, verbal, right? You can't just go, see what I mean by words matter? You just can't go, oh, by the way in which they looked at me, that's when I knew, we getting consent. Can I, may I? You got to get the words out. Words matter. It can't just be off of vibes and actions. You got to do both. To me, the answer is both. It's not either or, both. I don't want people just to show me love. I want them to tell me they love me. Because people can be showing you something, but what you see without any clear explanation can be anything. And people have been fooled. I've been a fool when it comes to relationships, not just, sexual relationships and intimate relationships, but partnerships, business partnerships. I don't use the word partner y'all know how I feel about that word partner. But anyway, in collaborations and business dealings, there were confusions on expectations where I took actions and thought that, well, if a person would do this and give me this and do this thing, this means this. I need words too. Because words set boundaries, words set parameters, words set expectations, words provide clarity, words provide accountability. That matters. And words matter. Yes, they do. And I think so often people do well, if I'm doing this, this should tell you, hey, that's cute, but you also need to say it too. If it's hard for a person to tell you they love you, there's a reason why. It can't all be symbolism. It can't all be figurative. I never forget with somebody that I'm no longer friends with anymore. One time I did something for them and they said, well, did I ask you to do that? I didn't ask you to help me with that. And that was the moment when I went, you're fucking right. Say less. And that changed the way I engaged in relationships with people moving forward. Not to say that I needed somebody to spell out struggle for me to support them, but I recognized the importance of, if I choose to help a person, I have to be fully aware that it has to be a situation to which I don't feel like I will be ever harmed or feel slighted if I did it. I learned this a long time ago. Sometimes people help people and there is a expectation that they might have that may not have been rooted in the exchange. You might have bought somebody a meal. You might have connected somebody with a good connect. The person may have not said thank you back. The person may have not showed gratitude in a way that you thought a person would, right? Because that's etiquette, right? They may not. At the end of the day, when you give something, you have to make up the decision that whatever you're giving, do you expect a reciprocity? And if it does not be returned, or if it's not done, or if it's not, can you live with that? I think I'm at a point in my maturation as an adult. It took me some time, but I'm there now. I'm clearly at a space in my life that anything that I do for a person, if it's in a giving situation, it's a kindness situation, that whatever I give, I can live with the reality of, if reciprocity is not returned, I can live and learn from it without feeling a sense of regret or resentment within myself. And whatever I'm doing that I feel like I can't do that, I won't do it. That's adulting. Don't ever give your all to a person or a situation if you don't feel like it can be reciprocal, or you feel like you need reciprocity in order to live with that decision. So if I give somebody $100, hypothetically, if I gave somebody $100 hypothetically, and they don't ever give it back to me, I can afford to give that thing, because I'm okay with that. I'm not going to feel resentment or whatever. Now, I might not give back to that person again. If that person don't give it back or show gratitude or whatever, I'm not going to give that level of anger or rage, because I gave myself that. Now, I learned this after I was scammed, over 10 years ago, when I worked for a startup company. I've told this story before. The person who scammed me is now deceased. You know, but thoughts and prayers and sorrows, all the things. But I, at that time, I held a lot of resentment because I was scammed in a way that at that time, financially, the money that I was scammed wasn't money that I thought the time and energy to which I gave, I should have been properly compensated. That situation did hurt me for a period of time, but I learned from that to say that I was never, ever going to ever pour myself or invest in something where I would lose that much self-agency and control. And so now in life, I don't regret or have a sense of payback for anything that I give to people, whether it's friends, whether it's businesses, whatever. I don't. Whatever I give, whatever I put out, is something I'm willing to give with no expectation of it to be returned. Now, just because I don't have an expectation for it to be returned doesn't mean that it is not nice and is not proper. And then that's how you define relationships and friendships, right? So if you're in a relationship or a friendship where you're doing all of the giving and you don't receive anything, no consideration, nothing back in return, then that should make you reprioritize how you define it. If it's charity, it's charity. If it's friendship, it should be reciprocity. You get what I'm going with it? Like I don't believe that I'm charitable in any friendship. If I'm in a friendship and you're my friend and I can do for you and I give because I know that in a friendship, reciprocity exists. There are people in friendships and relationships that are not reciprocal, where they're giving and giving and giving and doing and doing and doing, and there's no consideration. There's no support. There's no encouragement. There's nothing given on the other end. And if you're in relationships like that, whether it's friendships or relationships or whatever, then you need to look at you have to look at it. One of the worst things I see people do is that when they get in friendships with people, they start telling people everything about everything they've done. They name every single thing they buy, give, whatever. I don't do that. I don't do that. In any friendship I'm in, any relationship I'm in, I'm never going to do that. Because in my mind, if I can spell the things I've done, then there should be an ability to which you should be self-aware of whatever was done in a relationship. Why would you be in any relationship or friendship where you can spell out everything you've done and did and every little thing, and there's nothing, you can't spell out any net beneficial? That's not a friendship. That was a charity case. And if you was being charitable, then be charitable. But I think where you are in any relationship or friendship, any dynamic, whatever you give in any situation, you should be able to walk away and live with the fact that there was no net cost lost to yourself. I've heard horror stories of people that's like, I gave my last, I gave my this, I gave my that. For somebody that was not your child, for someone that was not like a dying parent, that you're caregiving for, not a spouse that literally you're supposed to be with for life. You did that for somebody that's not somebody you're responsible for? I don't know about that. Unless you're in a circumstance where there's reciprocity in the situation. There's a lot of people out here doing a lot of things, making themselves completely uncomfortable and in detriment to folks that they don't have that same reciprocity and connection and bond with. So that takes maturity, that takes growth, that takes reading relationships and friendships. I've learned that over the years. I have walked into situations where you come in and everything is a certain way, and then you walk out that situation and realize, okay, this took a lot out of me, and this was exploitative, right? Like, name the thing where you exploited in the situation. And at some point, did you not see the inequity in the dynamic? Are you signing yourself up in situations where you are in an inequitable dynamic by your choosing? Some people got to acknowledge that they're putting on the Dukes hat. Set boundaries, set parameters, read the room. And if you are not trying to, allow yourself to be a sucker. There are some people out here in this world that are filthy rich or whatever the case is, and they want pleasure, and they know they being used, and somebody they spending that, And they okay with it because at the end of the day, they want what they want. And maybe I wouldn't even say they're being exploited because there's a value that they're willing to invest in whatever the situation is. I'm talking about sugar daddies and sugar mamas. I'm just saying. Is it used in those situations when you're literally walking into the situation with agency? I think that in those dynamics, what's funny is that the ethics around that is more transactional, more clear cut than actual friendships. People will judge people who engage in sex work, and I'm not judging if it's ethical, consensual, all the things, right? But people will judge people that do that. But somebody told me who did it, who has done sex work, was like, listen, those are the most clear cut situations when done ethically, done right. They say, listen, I'm telling you what I'm going to do. You going to pay for it. We all are clear on what we're doing and why we're doing it. And there's agency involved. I'm just saying it might be a very clear cut situation. Some people are in situations and relationships where there is no balance. You being pimped out. Shoot, you tricking on somebody else and there ain't no reciprocity. You ain't got no understand, no balance. You got to figure out who you are in the situation. So I think there's just been a lot of experiences where we started talking. The conversation on the floor was about words mattering. I say all this to say, this show is called Ernestly Speaking, or I Digress by another name. The podcast really should be called I Digress. No, but I like Ernestly Speaking. But I mean, the podcast could be called I Digress with Ernest Owens. But no, honestly, words matter. Words matter. Okay? That's all I will say. Words matter just as much as actions do. They both go hand in hand and need to be in alignment. Your words need to match your actions. Your actions need to match your words. And you need to be using your words and you need to be doing actions. You need to be doing both. I don't accept actions over words or words over actions. I want both. Okay? I want I love you and a hug and a kiss. You know, if you're my boo. But no, I want a hug and I want to I love you. I want both of them. Okay? I want to fuck fascism and I want you to do some democratic ass shit too. I want both. I rocks with you and I want you to actually rock with me. I want the declarative that I got your back. I want to. Nothing sounds good when a friend tells you I got your back. I got you. I think words carry those power. I love you. Whatever you need, I got you. We stand with you. Keep going. Words. And then also people encouraging it, right? And outwardly doing that. I think both matter. I think I love you with a hug, it hits different. Just giving somebody a hug is like, okay, that's cool. It's cool. Or to say I love you is like, I love you. That touches. But when you can match it with an action too, or show that love in some kind of way, it's top tier. It's top tier. I'm going to keep this conversation rated G. But I was just saying, it's just, it hits different when someone tells you I love you in the process of love. Just say, let my words be. No, I want both. I think we all want both in this day and age. I want the person to tell me Black Lives Matter and actually show that Black Lives Matter. And I need people, allies, accomplices, whatever y'all want to call yourselves today, that the performative gestures or the actions about the words, say it. It means something when you have straight friends say happy pride and actually say the word gay. Say I support gay. Like, I think it do matters to verbalize it. I don't think it's just not enough to just quote unquote show. Do both. You'd be surprised how words, people actually verbalizing things is much harder for them in certain ways than actions. Think about that in your life. Think about that in your life. Like, I think it meant something like growing up, my parents telling me they were proud of me. Not just, clapping, but when they would say verbally, we're proud of you. This is really good, right? Not just thumbs up or a clap when they saw something, but what does it mean for a parent to actually tell their kids or a mentor to say, I'm proud of you? Because they are, right? But when you verbalize it, not just the beaming smile, use the words. But I digress. So this week, it was a lot of great things. I was with my frat Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. We had a retreat, my chapter, the Mighty Road chapter. We had our retreat this weekend. It was so great to just be with my brothers. We was in North Philly. One of my fraternity brothers owned a church, Prince of Peace Baptist Church, actually around Diamond Street. If you're looking for a church or worship, you know, nice church. But the pastor there, he is one of my fraternity brothers in my chapter. And so we had to retreat there. And it was a great time to just fellowship and gather and just connect as we get ready for fall. Fall planning. Oh my goodness. It's been nothing but fall planning. But I love it. I love fall planning. We got to do more of that because it's just, listen, this year has been creeping up on everybody. I don't know about you, but I've just been noticing it. It's just been like, whoa, we're already at the end of July. Like, what is going on with time? Is flying. Next thing you know, I'll be ready to go to the vineyard in a week after next. So it's ripping and it's rolling. But no, this week has been great. But I had some time to catch up with my good Judy. We had a good time. Me and my homegirl Candace, we had a lovely cocktails happy hour get together at Pyramid Club, which was sweet. Those wings at Pyramid Club are so good. And we had spritzes and we just caught up. Good old catching up. And we went to see the musical, The Notebook. Now, for those who've seen the movie, Candace is a big fan of The Notebook. I finally saw it, Candace. Came out 2004, by the way. So I was like 13 when Notebook came out. I know about the movie. Ryan Gosling's big film, Rachel Adams, both of them are Oscar-nominated actors now. This was an iconic film, clearly, for those who watch. I grew up watching those movies. Like, remember A Walk to Remember with Mandy Moore? Y'all remember that movie? A Walk to Remember? Like, all those, like, corny, sentimental films. But, like, that came out 2002. But it was Shane West. Yeah, Shane West and Mandy Moore. A Walk to Remember. A couple of people was in that film. So I remember that movie growing up. I remember, of course, the Lizzie McGuire movie. A Cinderella's Tale. That film. Like, it was all those, like, very, like, sentimental. Like, I always tell people, Walk to Remember was like the white version of Love and Basketball. I felt like that. Like, you had the very, like, Save the Last Dance. That movie. Interesting movie. But you had a lot of, like, those types of, like, movies, like sentimental movies that everybody just watched, That was like our, like, high school era, I mean, Mean Girls was like the comedy, but, like, there was all these, like, little sentimental, like, love story type of films. It was a bunch of those movies out at that time. But I remember The Notebook was one of them. A Walk to Remember. Yeah, it was a couple. Those are the ones that, like, really hit me. But it was like the early 2000s had all those, like, sentimental, like, films. But I finally saw The Notebook. I just never it just felt like the movie that everybody watched. I just never got into it. It just wasn't my thing. I just wasn't into it. But I finally saw the movie this weekend. Um yeah, it's good. It's a good film. It's good. It's a tearjerker. It's sentimental, it's sad. Some, I get it. It wasn't a movie that I need to watch. I mean, it was cool, it was not cool. It's heart tugging. It's very much the Hallmark tearjerker. There was some sad moments and very much passionate. It's not my type of movie that I run to go watch. I'm more of an Oscar baity girl. I need a little bit more. But I get it. I get why people are into that film. Like, there's just certain movies, like 13 going on 30. Like, that's a classic. Like, there's people that live by that movie. Is it 30? It's, yeah, 30. Yeah, that was Jennifer Gardner. Yeah, 13 going on 30. That was one of those movies. Brittany Murphy was in that movie, Uptown Girl. Like, remember Uptown Girl? Yeah, like, there's just certain movies that you just, Everybody know about Geely, that flop ass movie, but people remember Geely with Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. But there's like certain movies that you just grow up with and you just know about them, and like they're in your, they're part of the culture. And even if you don't, you know, even if you haven't watched it, you're aware of it. But I saw the musical. Walking into it, I heard about it on the Broadway. It was a Broadway musical. They're on a national tour. The musical was good, very good, and it had a diverse cast. So there was like this like interracial relationship dynamic that I think also gave the movie the musical a lot more like fever. Very good musical though. The singing was great. The drama. So it's at Ensemble Arts at the Academy of Music. If you have not seen it, tickets are still available now. I highly recommend it. It was very good. Candace and I were like clutching our pearls. She had already seen the movie, so she already knew the emotional roller coaster. I was in for a treat. And there is some parallel differences between the musical adaptation and the movie itself. So if you've seen the movie, but you go see the musical version, there are some differences. I won't get into the specifics, but the spirit and the merit and spirit is pretty much the same story. But they're very creative with how they do the timelines and things of that nature. I don't know what to recommend. If you already seen the movie, you're gonna love the musical. The musical it's a very good reimagining of the film, again with a more diverse cast, which I can appreciate. I thought that the musical was very good. The singing, the acting is very good. It's a very narrative driven musical, which I prefer narrative driven musicals. There are some people who are more into musicals where the music takes over everything, but there's not much plot because you're just so caught away by the choreography and the dancing. This isn't that type of musical. There are songs, but everything moves the plot in a very narrative way. And I think the reason why that works is because The Notebook was a movie first. Well, first it was a book that became a movie, then became a musical. So clearly this is like a thing, right? Like The Notebook is like, it's lived into various iterations. Not to compare them from the quality, but it reminds me of like The Color Purple. Like The Color Purple nothing beats The Color Purple as far as like franchising, right? Because The Color Purple was a great book that became a great movie, that then turned around and became a great critically acclaimed musical, that then turned around and became a great critically acclaimed musical film. Like, we're The Color Purpled out. The Color Purple has had many revivals on Broadway as a musical, but first it was a movie. Then they made a book. The book by Alice Walker is iconic. The book becomes a movie. The movie is iconic. Then they make a Broadway musical that is within itself very iconic. And then they turn around and they turn the musical version into a musical film, which I wouldn't say the musical film was iconic. I appreciate the musical. I thought it was good. Some of the casting choices were interesting. Some of them. I would say that out of all the iterations of the franchise, I love the book. I love the movie. I love the Broadway musical. The movie adaptation probably is the weakest of all of that franchise. I felt like the movie musical adaptation did not translate as well. It worked. Mr. Johnson, I saw it during Christmas 2 years ago. It works, but I think some of the casting choices is what kind of turned me off from it to be fully invested. I mean, Danielle Brooks steals the show. Let's be clear. I mean, she steals the show for me. I think anybody who plays Oprah's character in The Color Purple, that is the character. Miss Sophia is the character to me of that. Celie as well. She's also good, and Shug Avery, I enjoy Shug Avery in the Broadway version and also the movie version too. The underrated character. But I digress. Notebook is good. I think both are good. I think you can watch both and not feel like, first of all, they're both tearjerkers, so it is sentimental. There is that element to it, but I highly recommend it. So I have an announcement. I am participating in an event. I am a speaker at this virtual conference. It is so, I'm going to read the title to you all. You all are going to crack up, but it's very thoughtful. It's not for everybody. So let me just say this. But this summit that I was a speaker at, it's virtual. It's going to be in August. It's from August 10th to August 14th, but it's virtual. I've already been a part of it. I haven't, it's a virtual experience. So you go and the speakers have already presented. So I did a virtual presentation. It is called the Gay Men of Integrity Leadership Summit. I like it. It's something different. But I got hit up. This man, his name's Skip Sams. He's been in the media industry for many years. He is producing this for gay men. So if you are a gay man or identify as a gay man and you're of integrity, you should attend this. I mean, I don't know if they call Malcolm Kenyatta. I don't know if that's a gay man of integrity. Let me not do that. Okay, let me be nice. But he reached out to me, said, you are a gay man of integrity. And we having a leadership summit for gay men of integrity. It tickles me, the title. And I think it's so funny. But I also think it's very necessary. I think community needs to, I like this. If you're a gay man, a queer man, and you want to be in community, this summit is taking place. Promotional materials are all on my Instagram, on my Monday Instagram. If there's the link that's going to be in the bio. The marketing begins on Monday, of course, July 27th through August 9th. They're going to be doing a promotional. So if you want to be a part of this or get information about it, there's going to be a QR code. You can see the graphic, and I am promoting this. I'm a part of it. It's an opportunity to engage with other gay men of integrity and leadership. And so it's a leadership summit. And I think Skip, the producer of this, I think his mindset was that for many years, there hadn't been a space for gay men in this professional space to, what does it look like to do leadership in a way that's around accountability, around leadership and developing? And it's not to talk about stereotypes. It's just that I think everybody's community should be having their own, integrity leadership summit. But he wanted to create this, and I think it's dope, and I think it's cool. And I just like, why not? I don't ever get in, there's very seldom that I get invited to a lot of gay things across the bound, because so much of us as leaders, a lot of gay men, is oftentimes these conversations are centered around whiteness. And so for this to be a very more diverse, intersectional type of conference and gathering, I just was like, this is a no-brainer. So yeah, it's on my social. If you are a gay man and you're looking, and you are a gay man of integrity, keyword integrity, and you want to be a part of this leadership summit and you want to check it out, please check out the link in bio. It should be a fun event. So yeah. Other things, I'm excited about my doctoral program. I registered for my courses. I'm taking 2 a semester. I've already registered. I'm really excited about it. I also got my scholarship letter, official scholarship letter, in the email to me by Vanderbilt, or Vandy. People are using the word Vandy now. I mean, I guess they've been using it, but I'm still on Vanderbilt, okay? But I guess I'll start saying Vandy eventually. But yes, I got my scholarship from Vandy. And so that was really exciting. And I just thought about how great, I'm just so grateful about this experience, but just looking back at like the fact that in each of these programs, especially since my bachelor's, how grateful I am and how blessed that I've been able to do this on scholarship each step of the journey. I mean, there's so much to complain about in the regular world, and trust and believe that when we get through this podcast, I have some complaints about some things going on politically in the world. But to never lose sight of the beautiful things that come, and the great opportunities that come, and what those things mean and what they represent, and not to lose sight of those things, and to smell the roses, right? I mean, yes, there's a lot of problematic shit going on, and that do matter. But I'm also very grateful to do the things that I do and have the experiences that I have. And everyone, I think anyone who listens to this podcast that can enjoy this as a novelty, invest in those good things, those things that make you feel good. And also the highlights of those things. I know things are doom and gloom at times, and they really are, and there are things that we should do, but do not miss a moment to step outside and enjoy what they say, the view, to enjoy the view. So just putting that out there. Now to hot topics. Donald Trump has been showing his ass. Yeah, he's been showing his ass. And this man is 80 years old. And I think it's important to note, he is beefing with a 34-year-old, Caitlin Collins from CNN. He can't stop obsessing over her. I don't know where to begin, but on Sunday, he decided to make attacks towards her, using AI to depict Collins as Dylan Mulvaney, who is a transgender actress that is despised by mega Trumpers because this trans, advocate was on the Bud Light advertisements, and that was the whole go woke, go broke. I just don't understand where all this is happening. A lot of this drama took place because Caitlin Collins won the award for excellence in presidential news coverage under deadline pressure for her coverage of the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky's tense Oval Office meeting with Trump and J.D. Vance in 2025. So this was what happened at the White House Correspondence dinner on Friday. She shook hands with Trump when she came on stage to get her award. But then it got messy because Trump threw shots. He threw shots at the dinner. He showed his ass. He said, quote, "I want to personally congratulate CNN's Caitlin Collins on receiving her award. It was all about me. It was a fake. She shouldn't get the award. It was a fake. But I didn't mind. I said, Caitlin, congratulations. But it was a fake. There's no question about it. She's a young, attractive woman. She never smiles. I said, Caitlin, do you ever smile? Smile? You have a nice position. You're at CNN, fake news. You should be a happy person. So smile, Caitlin. Just smile." I thought Caitlin had really made it big with a major new sponsorship. But then I informed her that it wasn't her on the Bud Light can. It was Dylan Mulvaney. So he decided to compare her to a transgender woman on Bud Light who did the Bud Light ad. And that was the whole controversy a couple of years ago where, Bud Light ended up regretting or kind of scaling back from, collaborating with a trans performer like Dylan. And it became a whole drama. But basically, Collins did allude to the weirdness of what President Trump had said. She said, "The second best part of last night's White House Correspondence dinner," this is what she said on Instagram, "was receiving an award from my friend and mentor, Wolf Blitzer. The first was reminding everyone why the First Amendment and asking uncomfortable questions that people in power don't like matters." Then she shared a series of photos that Collins posted, ended with a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt that's read, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." That's fair. That's fair. That's a takeaway right there. That's a mic drop. I mean, Eleanor Roosevelt, that quote, I've heard that quote so many times. The first time I actually heard it was when I watched The Princess Diaries. And there is the first one, of course, the first one. And there was a scene where it was Anne Hathaway's character, and she was talking to the security guard. That was the one who was dating Julia Roberts' character, the queen in the film. And she's having a tough time adjusting to the public knowing about her being a princess, and her friends are giving her just a lot of shit for it. and she was feeling bad about everything that was going on. And that's when she, recites the quote. The quote comes from the security guard. He tells her the quote, and she, says, that she remembers it and recalls it, and it says, Eleanor Roosevelt. And that's when I first heard that quote. Fun fact, it was in the Princess Diaries. But it still resonates to this day. But, look, Trump is trumping. And I just, first of all, it's the White House Correspondence Dinner. This time, of course, without any bullets or any problems, and everything's going without a hitch this time around. But what says something to me is that Trump wants to be in these spaces, but at the same time, he takes everything personal. I just don't, well, see, he can't help himself. But I'm at a point like, dude, you're 80. You know the free press is covering your administration. You know this. Why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you here? And why are you being a sourpuss? Why? Why are you being bitter? What's going on here? And I think some of this behavior is connected, I think, because of the distraction of, the Tate brothers. Anybody heard about the Tate brothers? The Tate brothers, a hot ass mess. Those guys are arrested right now. And these are people that were aligning themselves with Trump. Okay? They're social media influencers. So Andrew and Tristan Tate are influencers. They were arrested by U.S. Marshals in Miami. There is an extradition request from the United Kingdom authorities, who filed 38 new criminal charges against them. And so there are new documents that detail rape charges in the UK. That's why they're being detained, because they're accused of doing some very, very inappropriate things. And the Crown Prosecution Service, the CPS, has decided to prosecute them, with additional charges. It's a problem. And now they've been arrested. Arrested. This is serious. A lot's going on here. Now, for those who don't know who the Tate brothers are, they were right-wing, conservative, personalities. They got 59 total charges in the UK right now, but they've been, a lot of these conservatives that have been backing them, their political allies, have fallen out from them. They're not supporting them as much. A lot of this has been there. A lot of people who were supporting them, Alina Habba, who was one of the representatives that of their representative reached out to her. They was reaching out to her, and they were in the manosphere for clarity. She was a vocal supporter of the Tate brothers, even though they have had these human trafficking and serious crimes in Romania and Britain being accused of this. She did a podcast. This was back in January 2025. She said, "I got your back over here." Now, she doesn't have anything to say about them.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Looking for conversations made for lesbians and queer women? Welcome to LOTL Lounge, the home of bold stories, brilliant artists, and the voices shaping our community. From lived experience chats to deep dives into queer culture, every episode celebrates lesbian life in all its colour. Search LOTL Lounge wherever you get your podcasts and join the conversation.
And for those who don't know, Alina Habba is a lawyer, and she's a former Trump advisor. And she said she had their back. Now crickets. A lot of people, do not want anything to do with the Tates. A lot of Republicans and conservatives that have been backing them and defending them, everybody's been quiet. It's been crickets. And it kind of reminds me of Tucker Carlson when they got quiet on him, when he began to push back against Trump. But they turn on each other. There's no honesty amongst thieves, as the quote says, right? There's no honesty amongst thieves. Now, with all this stuff going on with them, this kind of harkens to the Epstein files, like all of this type of alleged abusive behavior, all this type of weird, creepy stuff that's being said. The Republican Party's whole entire image has been completely like gutted by this new reality. Because for so long they was trying to resist any allegations of being complicit. We're in a different space now. So, the Republicans, I mean, every time you think, something is going in an upward direction with them, it just has been, it can't escape the Epstein files. I mean, all this stuff is going on with Mitch McConnell. Lindsey Graham's sister is now trying to stay in the seat permanently. There's just a lot. So yeah, Trump can't win for losing. He can't catch a break, as he should. Well, now to the Democrats. There's always like this moment where you can look at, yourself and go, oh, well, everything must be going fine over here in this neck of the woods because X, Y, and Z thing is happening somewhere else. And so you're like, oh, there's no way that there's double trouble. And then you turn around and realize, oh, but there is. And so there's been, a lot happening lately with the Democratic Party. And I'm talking about the party specifically. Apparently, the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, is going through it. He is apparently isolated and unraveling as he scrambles to contain his committee's $2 million debt. Apparently, this was all reported by, 24 Democrats that include current and former officials who told this to the New York Times. Ken Martin, who's the DNC chairman, he is 53 years old, and apparently he's been pleading with vendors basically not to charge the committee or bill the committee until after the midterm elections. This is no joke. Meanwhile, Trump, who provides over a super PAC with $400 million. Wow, right? You all might remember that maybe a couple of years ago, I had talked about how initially people had thought that the RNC was dealing with some financial problems. And now CNN has reported that the Republican National Committee had $109 million on hand, which is a 7-1 advantage over the DNC. There's been rumors or allegations that Ken Martin appeared to take out his financial issues on his subordinates. Had a meltdown, according to the New York Times, in which he threw his phone at a junior aide's desk. Mind you, he has pretty much this position until 2029. So, yeah, Ken Martin is going through it. He's been in the position since 2025 of February. He's supposed to have been trying to revitalize the Democratic Party after what happened in 2024. And now here we are, 2026, and there hasn't been this upward trajectory for the Democratic Party when it comes to the unity. There's been talks that there's a dim civil war. In other words, you got progressives, or at this point, democratic socialists, clashing with moderate interests. And while this is raising enthusiasm for voters within the party, it's not translating into the type of money that the DNC needs as they head into the midterms. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, a lot of the candidates that people like are members of, like, the Working Families Party, who might be like for example, Chris Rapp. Chris Rapp is a Democrat, but he was backed by the Working Families Party. The Democratic Party did not support him. Now that he's won, there's going to be support towards him now because he won the primary. But I'm wondering, is that part of the reason why they're not making this money? Because I know some people are looking like, well, with superstars like Zohran Mamdani, who's the mayor of New York City, wouldn't he get money? But, like, that's Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, that they were the ones who, raised money, got the hype, got the momentum, and really invested in his success. The Democratic machine was not backing Mamdani. So while there are powerful Democrats that are now being elected, those Democrats are not machines or people that the party has gotten behind. And in many ways, they haven't been the ones helping to raise money for the party because the party hasn't really, they didn't raise money for them. And so I think that's where the financial problems lie. I mean, also the party spends a lot of money. I think the Democratic Party spends a lot of money in general, in ways that are, some people argue it's problematic. So I know that in that case, it's not all just on the candidates, but when you're thinking about, look at the Republican Party now, the RNC, for what it's worth, Trump being reelected definitely raised money for them. Also, too, you got J.D. Vance as well, who also won, who also was backed by the Republican Party. And and they're not having, I think, these very blatant financial divisions amongst their party leaders. And what I mean by party leaders, like candidates or superstar candidates, like most people who are winning in the Republican Party, there's no like real major separate division internally within who's winning races. Like there are some people who, most of them are within the Trump umbrella. There's not that many no Trumpers who are identifying as Republicans that are running. I haven't seen it. They might exist, but largely I have not seen any major no Trumpers or never Trumpers who are running and winning in major congressional Senate races. However, when you look at Democrats, there are people who are part of the Democratic Party that are not supportive of their party's. Like, the party doesn't really have a leader right now. I guess that's the way that we're dealing with. Like, people say, oh, maybe it's Kamala Harris. I don't think so, because even when you look at the new polls that have come out, at one point in time, people said, Kamala Harris is the front runner. She's the front runner. Now, new numbers are showing that it's AOC. AOC's taking the lead now. And Kamala's kind of falling back as far as the poll numbers go. If we're to believe these polls or take them seriously, then we're basically saying that someone like an AOC, who gets her support by various other entities outside the party, is one of the leading faces of the party. Because we don't really have a leader right now. Biden left. He's getting ready to drop his book later this year. I don't even know. After Joe Biden's book, I don't know if I want another book by Biden right now. I don't even know. I personally feel like Biden should have wrote his first. But then I feel like after his book, I don't think there would have been really any energy for Jill's book. There was barely any energy for Jill's book before, at all. But now I feel like we're in a space where there's been so many people have written about the aftermath of 2024, have talked about the chaotic year that was. I don't know if we want to go down memory lane. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go down memory lane and hear Biden's perspective about anything on that. I mean, I know he has to, as any presidents have biographies. I just don't know if we really, with everything that's going on, I don't think that there is a desire to celebritize Biden right now. I don't know. I don't see it. Who knows? I mean, the book will probably be a New York Times bestseller in this day and age. But I doubt that it's going to be anything like what Obama did or even what Michelle Obama did. And we're still waiting for Obama's second volume. Like, we still haven't even fully gotten through all of that. I know Bush has written his biography. I know Bill Clinton has. Obama wanted to give us 2 parts. A Promised Land was the first volume, the first part, which is really the first term. We have not gotten a second term and the aftermath of what happened. So it's like Obama's still waiting. Is there still more life for him to live? Is he I don't know if I want to. I'll say this. I won't name the names. I think he's waiting for some people to depart us before he gives us that second volume. I could be wrong. He might, but in my mind, I for a long time have kept asking myself, why are we still not? Where's the second volume at? And there's a part of me that feels like he doesn't want his book to end, or at least that biography or that part of the chapter to end on that note. I think he also wants to give us some thoughts about certain people that might have served alongside him. And I think he wants to be respectful of legacy, of history, of time. And I think he's waiting for some people to depart us on earth very soon before he does that. I don't know. I feel like that, because I don't know. I just feel like, well, you could say whatever now, but I think he's being mindful of other people, other presidents' legacies. I don't think he wants to. I think he, as much as there is some tension, I think he's very thoughtful about how he wants to talk about Biden. And I think he knows he needs to be honest. I think history cannot afford any more erasure. There has to be an honest truth about what happened. And I think he knows that the American people are going to want to know what really happened 2 years ago in the summer of 2024. We were all around and we heard Biden wasn't running for re-election. What did that mean? What was that? What was those hours like? What conversations was happening during that time? I'm just curious to hear more about that. And something tells me we're not going to hear that right now. Because I think, one, Obama might has the luxury to be a very visible living president where Biden's going to put out his book. He'll rewrote what Biden says. Jill Biden's book, she took a lot of digs towards clearly, Kamala. Choices were made. They're not pretending anymore. On both sides. On both sides. They're not pretending anymore. And it's quite unfortunate. This is the first woman in American history that has held one of those executive positions. And this is what she's dealing with. I mean, we saw a side of Joe that I didn't think existed. And I think the book did more harm than good for the Biden family. I mean, even the son Hunter is out here reinventing himself, which I have no issue with. Because come on. Choices are made. Choices are made. That's what I'll say on that. But the Democratic Party, they're going through, I mean, this situation with Jim Clyburn. Jim Clyburn is 86 years old. I don't know how many of y'all sent me this video. I was trying, look, I get so much news. I consume so much news on a daily basis. And for those who follow me on social media and follow specifically my Instagram page, you know that my IG story is almost like a just a consistent overflow of news. All types of news, random stuff, funny stuff, serious shit. One moment we'll be talking about Jim Clyburn, who is, the long-standing Black South Carolina congressperson that's been there for a long time, who has a lot of influence and pretty much delivered the Black vote and pretty much saved Biden when he ran for president during the pandemic, during the midterms. No, they're not the midterms, the primaries. When there was the primaries and Biden was still looking like he was going through it during the primaries for president, when we still didn't know, because it was really between him and Bernie Sanders, and there was no clear indicator of who was going to be the next Democratic nominee. Biden was not a surefire bet at that point. But by the time we get to Jim Clyburn and how he rallied up the Black vote and support during that primary season, that sweep, Biden's momentum built after that. One could argue that Jim Clyburn handed the Democratic victory. His influence during the primaries is what locked in what Biden needed to get over the top. So we're not going to act like Jim Clyburn don't have influence. However, Grandpapa is getting up there. He does an interview and says he didn't remember, he just had learned about ChatGPT a week before he just did a recent interview. He didn't really know much about ChatGPT. Mind you, this is a congressional man who has to vote on data centers and AI and all these things, and he doesn't have a clue. And I think he was dead honest. I think he was honest. I don't even think he was joking. But this man is an example of why we need. What do we need? Term limits. He's the reason why I think we might need some term limits. It's been a lot. It has been quiet on the creek over here when it comes to term limits, but we need some term limits. Why? This man is not letting up. not letting go. So I'm watching everything unfold, but I'm also taking note. And I'm seeing it. I think we're dealing with some situations right now where we have an incumbency problem, a senior incumbency problem. I've talked about this in prior episodes, but this is serious. This is serious. So I'm going to address this briefly. A lot of people asked about this as well. The drama going on with Mamdani slightly around this arrest on Israel. Well, he can't do it. He cannot arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. That cannot happen. He cannot actually do that. He can't do that with his power. People have asked questions about why did he make this decision to, cause this chaos? Like, why did he give supporters this impression that he could do it? And the implications of, his fixation on Israel. Like, people saying, hey, he's a governor. Like, there's been a lot of people there's been critics of him saying, I want my my mayor to be focused on potholes and other issues, not focused on what's going on in the Middle East. That's interesting to me. I don't disagree with that. But I will say that when he first ran, Democrats got to figure that moderates got to figure out where they are. Israel was such a big issue during the mayoral race and how people weaponized the issue around anti-Semitism and tried to focus it on whether or not supporting Israel was a standard of that. I remember that people wanted to force the conversation during the mayoral's race when Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams were running against Mamdani and was really trying to force that conversation. And I remember Mamdani at the time was not really trying to center Israel or that conversation because he was like, look, I'm a mayor. I'm a city mayor. I don't know why my politics on that is going to determine whether or not. That was what his positioning was then. And I remember a lot of people that were pro-Israel felt like it needed to be the conversation, wanted to have the discussion. And I was like, in my opinion, I was like, this should not be an issue because if it goes the other way and you don't like it, you will then make it another conversation and argue something differently. Like, wherever a mayor's position on that matter is an issue that is better suited for a congressional candidate, right, who will have to vote on what they're going to do with funding, right? They vote on foreign aid and bills like that. That's a congressional senatorial issue. It's not really an issue at large that involves any American city at that level. Like, where your mayors stand and how they feel about Israel is really not a major issue. And I said this years ago when Mamdani, and it was like 2 years ago when it was the whole race. I said, I don't think this should be the conversation. Go back in the records. I said it. But they wanted to fixate on it. Now here we are. Mamdani is now mayor. And he's having the discussion in ways that are making certain people on this issue uncomfortable. And I remember saying, we shouldn't make this an issue at all, because if it does not go in your favor, if the person you're electing is not pandering to a particular position you feel on either way, it's not going to make anyone happy on either side. So Mamdani threatening to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, he can't do it. One could argue that he's pandering to his base on this particular topic. They like it. They like it. And I would argue that I mean, to me, I just feel like none of it is necessary because it's like, look, if you can't do something, why entertain the conversation, right? I just feel like that's just how I feel. Why are we even having entertaining a conversation on a topic like this? There's no win there, right? But there are some people that, hey, like that he took that stance. He threw a free ball to his base. There are people that are now reminded of the issue at hand and now want to accuse him of all types of rhetoric. Again, choices were made. Choices were made. So in media, there's been some interesting breakthroughs, some things not so much. For starters, that big, huge conversation, merger, I would say, between Warner and Paramount, that is being held off. Paramount has agreed to hold off on the Warner Brothers merger until after this antitrust trial. There's been a lot of discussion about this for quite some time. Y'all been following this. So Paramount Skydance agreed to postpone its $111 billion acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery until June 1st, or until a pending antitrust lawsuits are resolved. This halt has canceled preliminary injunction hearing that was scheduled for August 3rd, which is moving this merger directly toward a full trial on its merits. There's a lot going on here. There's some legal roadblocks. There's a massive financial penalty because this merger will not close by its initial September 30th deadline. Paramount is facing a hefty ticking fee, $7 million per day, $650 million per quarter, starting October 1st to compensate the Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders. If the legal battle permanently tanks the deal, Paramount will owe Warner Brothers Discovery a $7 billion breakup fee. This is no joke. Warner Brothers can walk away from this whole situation richer than they had anticipated if this does not happen. The billionaires, there's some concerns. Unions are not in favor of this deal. There's a lot at stake. $7 million a day? $7 million a day? Like, yes, 6.9 million per day is a specific number, but they're talking about roughly $650 per quarter if the deal isn't done by September 30th. Doesn't look like that's going to happen now. So there's going to be a trial. So to be clear, this happened on Friday. Court documents were filed on Friday. There's also a coalition of states that were looking to block the merger. Basically, the studio said it will hold off on the consummating of the acquisition until June 2027, or 5 days after the court issues a ruling on the case, whichever is earlier. So this case could be earlier than June 2027, but they are doing till June 2027. So till then, possibly. Basically, Paramount spokesperson said that basically this provides a direct path to a trial based on the evidence. Quote, "This is the fastest and clearest way to prove that this transaction is good for competition, good for consumers, and good for creators. A conclusion dozens of competition authorities around the world have already reached. Plaintiffs' market definitions bear no relationship to the realities of today's marketplace and cannot withstand scrutiny. We look forward to proving our case at trial." So you're going to see what happens. But this is a big deal. It's not over until it's over. It's pretty much what I'm getting to. You know, there's some interesting stuff happening right now. And the merger is where it's at, right? We see the power. This is the family. The Oracle founder, Larry Ellison, the Ellison family. This is what's going on over there. So we'll see. Google's losing money in an interesting way. For the first time in a while, numbers are showing that Google is spending more than it makes. And a lot of this is connected to AI. First time ever that Google was on that receiving end. Like I've never, like Google, like I've never heard of this. Like Google is typically, Alphabet, the company, never heard of this situation. But its parent company, to be clear, Google isn't losing money overall, right? But the parent company, Alphabet, recently posted a negative cash flow, a free cash flow for the first time on record. And this was due to a massive surge in artificial intelligence spending. So Alphabet, the parent company, not Google itself, but they're just the same thing. But apparently, Google stock loses $270 billion in value concerns. It's basically losing its money, falling behind rivals in a race for AI talent. So this is part of the fear, I guess, because Google lost $270 billion in market cap. And this is over concerns that it's falling behind, quote unquote, rivals in this race for AI talent. But we got more here, though. They go cash flow negative for the first time ever. It's dropping. The stock is dropping. And apparently this is because the company has raised its spending on artificial intelligence higher than expected. This is not normal. Like, this is not normal. Okay? This is not normal. Another media giant, Disney, massive layoffs. Okay? Massive layoffs. And people have said that this has caused some issues. There's some major layoffs that has happened. They have done a big, huge, what they call restructuring. More than 1,000 employees laid off. Several divisions, Pixar, ESPN, of course, Disney, television. There's some serious layoffs. Some big people. Nat Geo then got cuts. And this is after Toy Story 5 made them $1 billion. But there's some high talent at ESPN feeling it. Ryan Clark, he was a former NFL player. He got hit. Stephen A. Smith, a lot of people are saying some of this is happening because these salary, that they have these contracts, some of these salaries, some people like Stephen A. Smith and others, because they have to honor those contracts and pay these people even more money. That means that other people have to go or other things have to be cut. And so now a lot of major people are getting laid off. Carl Ravitch, who was the Sports Center anchor, Baseball Tonight, he didn't got cut. A couple other folks as well. This is the third round of layoffs this year. Third round of layoffs. It is not safe, even for people that work for big companies. Even for people that work for big companies. People used to say, oh, working for a company like Disney, that's job security. Not anymore. Not anymore. The View, which is a part of the Disney brand with ABC, there was some reports that their set, they don't have all the wardrobe is on a budget. Somebody had allegedly considered it being like a Wendy Williams set, that a lot of the stuff that they used to do and spend money on, that is being reduced. Southern folks are not getting salary raises. Certain people are taking, some salary cuts actually, to maintain on the show. And that the glamour and, and glitz of The View as it used to be is no more. Here's what I've been saying for a long time. And this is not an opportunity to say, oh, I told you so, blah, 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 because I'm not doing that. But what I will say, and I've said this over the years, you all have been with me through this entire 2020s, this entire decade. I said that the days of the journalism, but the media industry, the glitz and glamour, the caviarness of broadcast media as we knew it was going to finally get the shoe drop. See, print media, for those who've been following, right? You watched The Devil Wears Prada. You saw The Devil Wears Prada 2. But if you notice, for the past 25 years, since the 21st century, print media has been having to reckon with this. And broadcast kept skating. And print media for quite some time has had to be very nimble and, hustle and be gritty with how they spent their money. But local news and broadcast news, national TV news, have always been on some crazy caviar and champagne diet. I mean, if you knew how much people was really getting paid in broadcast news, local news is a little different. Local news is definitely humbling itself. But they're having conversations like how many helicopters we can get. But national news, I mean, these people will sit up and have hair, makeup, styling. Everybody had their own wardrobe and renting clothes and all this. I mean, the kind of money that was spent on broadcast news on the national level. I mean, talk shows, the sets, the productions, how many crew hands and assistants and all kind of shit. Money was moneying. But you're talking about multi-billion-dollar industries. So everybody was getting checks. Everybody had assistants. Everybody had personal drivers and private jets and shit. I kid you not. The money was moneying. Print, even with the big national magazines, by the time you got to the 2010s, oh baby, they was cutting them budgets. You still had some glitz and some glamour, but the way in which people were spending money in print, it was we gotta get a little smart. Because the internet was kicking our ass. Websites and digital media and press, we started getting our ass kicked very soon. So there was a level to which you had to be a little bit more strategic with your budget and spending. Mind you, broadcast news, nobody cared. Then I would say the pandemic began to really shake up local news. Local news got hit really early with the pandemic. Everyone's like, you know what? You can't do all this. So local news got the wake-up call around the pandemic. Here we are now, 6 years later. Now the national news is starting to get it. And it's interconnected. It's a lot of stuff. I mean, people will say they want to blame it on AI. It's not just AI. It's the fact that the revenue isn't generating at the weight. All media been on a very fast pace of money burning. But the last of the Mohicans, the last of the group, was that national broadcast scene. And I want to say in the past, 2 years, there's been all these different cuts. But they're the last. They can't say, where's the writing on the wall? They should have been creating more affordable, more responsible spending. But they did not. They just thought they were above the fray. They thought they were bigger than the program. But as somebody who's navigated print, radio, local media across all, before local TV, I already understood what the assignment was. Did not need to go through so much of the corporate bloodshed of layoffs in order to see what was happening. The writing has always been there. But people just thought, oh, well, it ain't gonna happen to me. Or when it happens to me, I'll be out the game. I'll be good. So there's that. And then before I get to local politics, Cheyanne Bryant, I'm not calling her Dr. anything anymore because now the jokes write themselves. First of all, there's a lot of people who's been caught up still. I don't know where folks have been, but I just want to say that if you have, this is a public service announcement. I thought this was clear a week ago, but I guess I need to say it now. Can we all please be done with the Netflix memes? The Netflix memes are officially done. If you have not created one, don't think, if you have finally come up with the idea, kill it. We need to move on. I can't tell you how corny what was once something that was kind of fun and kind of creative has now become overkill. If you did not jump on the trend is over. At this point, it's overkill. It's not funny. You all have ruined it. You all have made it beyond the plot is lost. This was a moment. It's time to move on. Okay? Now get your ass on Quiet on the Creek and go sat down somewhere. There's always new things to do. The Netflix documentary is officially done. It's overkill. Like, we don't want to see them. They're not funny. They're not hitting anymore. It was a moment. The moment has been done. It was over. It was dead over a week ago, to be honest. It was really dead over a week ago. But some of you all keep doing it. When Cheyanne Bryant decided to put on an EDD doctoral graduation jacket or coat. First of all, doctoral degrees have different coats. I knew the coat that she had on. I said, that is not your graduation coat. Those colors, that is not your color. That color is for someone who graduates with an EDD. That light blue color is for EDD. You was claiming that you got a doctorate in something else. We still have not seen your official doctorate stuff. That cap and gown can be purchased on Amazon for over $80, okay? And you're wearing this in a video talking about how you're going to prove your haters wrong, that you got your doctorate degree. Cut it out. You had an honorary doctorate. So is that why you're going by Dr. Cheyanne Bryant? Are you claiming that that random ass honorary doctorate that's not an actual terminal degree, even though the gag is your Dr. Cheyanne Bryant title? You was claiming Dr. Cheyanne Bryant before you got that honorary degree. So that still does not actually clarify. But if you want to still run this game, like both of these trends, the Dr. Cheyanne Bryant, quote unquote, trend of her claiming that she has a doctorate degree without providing any actual material receipts, and also her wearing a jacket with colors that don't belong to her, and you all want to do a Netflix trend, all that needs to just cease and desist at this point. At the end of the day, as somebody who literally had to submit my official transcripts, all right, my official bachelor's degree and my master's degree, where I had to go on parchment. Y'all know about parchment, and had to retrieve those degrees and submit them. As somebody who did that recently, it does not cost that much money to transfer your official transcripts. It can be $11, I believe it was, on parchment to do digital transfer. It is nothing to transfer official documents and of your actual degrees. You can possess them. I own official transcripts for both of my degrees. Official transcripts, certified, for my own personal records. Okay? It is not hard to do. You can even get a physical transcript mailed to yourself. It is not hard to do. You can even repurchase your bachelor's degree. Because actually, it's funny, my mom has my actual bachelor's degree. I have my own master's degree. But I was thinking to myself, I want to have all of my degrees. I can reorder my actual degree. I can reorder my actual degree, put it up in a frame, and have it in my house. I even have a PDF version of my degree. This is possible, y'all. It's true story. It's a fact. So the fact that Cheyanne Bryant, who got her degree in the 21st century, okay? So it's not like the transcript could be, she has it. There's digital records. People who graduated from the program that she claims she graduated from and got a degree, they have their transcripts. They have their degrees. You can show proof of this. You can get certified. This is not hard. So for all of the placating and all the this, you got time to put on an $80-something Amazon light blue doctoral degree cap and gown that was not the cap and gown that you could have wore when you got whatever the degree you claim that you have. To do all that and to do a video and still not provide proof is playing in people's face. And that's just the bottom line. You're playing in people's face. Period. So that's that. Now let's move to local politics. There's a lot going on in Philadelphia and in Pennsylvania, okay? For starters, let's just get this out the way now. LeBron and friends, okay? LeBron James and friends are coming to Philadelphia. Yes, LeBron James is officially signed with the Philadelphia 76ers. Some people are saying, we were not down with King George in 1776, but now we are down with King James in 2026. I don't really care much for the whole king references. There are no kings in America, but I'll let y'all be great. I need to say this before I do my read, because I'm going to say this read and I'm going to stand by it. Okay? I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I grew up in Houston, Texas. The greatest NBA player of all time is Michael Jordan. I've said this for a long time, and I'm going to say it again. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Listen, you may not agree with his personal politics, and quite frankly, if you knew LeBron James's politics, you too would find out that both of them could use some help on the political tip, okay? Because some of y'all done came out here trying to drag Michael Jordan's politics, and I'm not defending his politics. His politics are not the best, okay? But neither is LeBron's. Google, baby. Google. Your favorite billionaire, because Michael Jordan's a billionaire, but your other favorite billionaire is out here supporting Tory Lanez, supporting Israel, supporting some other things. I'm just saying, you go look it up, okay? His politics are very telling too. But we're not talking about politics. We're talking about impact, cultural impact, athleticism, and all the things. Michael Jordan has 6 rings. LeBron has 4. Look, LeBron has some great techniques. He got some points and some other things. But at the end of the day, if you're asking me what the greatest of all time, what are you defining as the greatest of all time? Because if you're talking about just actual physicality, you could say Wilt Chamberlain. You could say Dr. J, Julius Erving. There are things that LeBron has done that other people have, if you're talking about that. But if you want to talk about the overall cultural relevance and impact, okay, it is Michael Jordan. There would be no LeBron James without Michael Jordan. There would be no Allen Iverson without Michael Jordan. There would be no Kobe Bryant without Michael Jordan. What Michael Jordan did, number 23 is forever Michael Jordan's number. He is the greatest NBA player of all time. The reason why is because what Michael Jordan did for the NBA is what Tiger Woods did for golf, is what Serena Williams did with tennis. You took a game and you transformed it in such a way that it was bigger than the game. It was the culture. Yes, Magic Johnson was a good basketball player, no doubt about it. But Michael Jordan, okay, Michael Jordan turned basketball into culture. He turned it into a cultural, global industry. He took it to the level to which we've never seen NBA ever be the same after him. You do not hear of the massive franchising deals to the point where you can envision there was no basketball billionaires before Michael Jordan. What Michael Jordan did, his defiance, his swag, his entire persona, reimagined what athletes can do, what black athletes can do in that sport. He is what defined NBA as a black sport. He is what invented the imagination. Like, yes, there was so many before him. But this is how I feel about the conversations around musicians, right? We know that James Brown was a legend. We know that Little Richard was a legend. We know that. There are great pioneers in rock and roll and pop music. But what Michael Jackson did for pop music makes him the GOAT. Every artist after Michael Jackson, he is the most consequential musician in pop music. What Michael Jackson did for pop music and for music in that way is the commercialization. He is the era, the way in which we consume music and think of music and what it can be on that level to which we can consume it and think of it is because of Michael Jackson. The greatest selling musician of all time. The cultural impact. No one can do what he do. No one after Michael Jackson can do what he do after. You can't have a Beyonce without him. What he did, how he transformed the industry, laid the foundation for everybody else after him. That is what Michael Jordan did. Everybody after him can do what they do because of what he did. Like the way in which we talk about LeBron, the way in which media talks about athletes and consider them in the cultural conversation, there was no other athlete in the NBA that garnered that level of cultural influence. Michael Jordan is not just an athlete. He is a brand. He is a symbol. What he did in a city, what he did for Chicago, and every city he touched. When you talk about LeBron's movement in other cities, Michael Jordan laid the foundation of what that can look like. Marquee main event players, like that is Michael Jordan. Shoes, branding, merchandising on that deals, movies. Even LeBron did Space Jam, and it wasn't as good as the first Space Jam. He's been trying to fill Michael Jordan's shoes since. And I will give it to him. He is the greatest basketball player currently playing in the league. He is the current greatest NBA player in the current league that's on the court. Even if he's not doing the numbers he used to do, right now in the current space, he's doing his big one. When I think of the greatest black actor, the GOAT of black actors, the answer is Denzel Washington. Yes, Sidney Poitier made history. Of course. But what Denzel did for black cinema and for black actors, there would be no Michael B. Jordan without Denzel. There would not be. There would not be an Idris Elba, a Mahershala Ali. You would not have any of those men in Hollywood without Denzel first. Denzel is the blueprint for what black actors could do. He is one of the greatest actors of all time, period. Of the 21st century, period. His ability to defy various genres. This man can give you Oscar. He can give you thriller. He can give you action. He can give you all. And this man can carry this, a film, any film at this level. He can carry it off the back of a performance. This man does not need special effects, big budgets, superhero stuff. That man alone can drive box office dollars off his name alone in any type of genre of cinema. And he's maintained his integrity as an actor, his passion for the craft, and he can deliver throughout the decades. He's taken acting risks in the cinema that other actors have not even tried at times where it was not. What Denzel did, if you know the history of that movie, Philadelphia, with Tom Hanks, for a black actor at his level, with an Oscar, already he won for Glory, for him to take on a role in the 90s alongside a theme around a gay theme, around HIV and AIDS, and to play a role and to do it was a risk in Hollywood people don't even to this day understand. If you go back and do the history about what it meant for Denzel Washington to be in the film Philadelphia alongside Tom Hanks, you will have there's so many stories. But for him to take that role at that time and for that movie to do what it do, it does not work without Denzel's performance. It does not work without Denzel even signing onto the film. You got to remember, Tom Hanks won his first Oscar for Philadelphia. Denzel already had his Oscar at that point. I could do a whole cinema course about that. But I will just say this to say that I think people underestimate the brilliance of Denzel. I think he's so good that we have taken him for granted sometimes with some of his impact. But the fact that at this day and age, Denzel is still putting out films, still in the conversation, still doing it, still inspiring a generation. Ain't nobody touching that man. That is the GOAT. Okay? And the same can be said for who? Who can the same be said for? The same can absolutely be said for Michael Jordan. But now that I've gotten it off my chest, okay? Now that I've gotten it off my chest, here we are. Here we are. LeBron is here, and we was able to get LeBron without, hear me out, without having to have an arena in Center City. That post went viral. I put that post up. That post went viral. LeBron is here. He's attracting other players. He's doing a 2-year contract with an option in the first year to leave if it ain't working out. Come on, Joel Embiid. Come on, y'all. Come on, Maxey, I mean. Listen, I think there's a chance that the 76ers can win a championship. I think we have it. I think we can pull it off. Some people have called this the old man deal. He took an 8-year contract, $8 million. That's very low. But that proves how badly he wanted to be a part of a winning team. And we got to, listen, we're not going to act like, and see, this is what annoys me with Philly. Philly forgets themselves. Like, sometimes Philly gets like groupie status. This city, I've lived here for 15-something years. I can say what I can say. I'm a Philadelphian. Listen, Philly gets to the point where we act like we ain't had nothing. And we lose our minds, okay? We get something nice and we know how to act. We just so thirsty sometimes. And I sometimes that annoys me because I'm like, Philadelphia is a very great city. We have some great talent and some great achievements here. And for whatever reason, we act like we ain't never had anything. And it sometimes get a little annoying because I'm like, why do we play ourselves like that? Like the 76ers had a very good year this year. Yeah, they didn't make it to the finals, but they was in the playoffs. And they had some really great wins. And so there's a lot of potential. Okay? We just got to get some more talent. But we got the NBA, like they did not bad. Okay? They didn't have a bad season. 76ers with all the L's they were taking prior, there was some great energy. What they was able to do this past season is what would make a LeBron James say, you know what? There's a chance here. Cleveland was all right, safe. Okay, Miami, yeah. But Philadelphia is fun. I mean, this team has a lot of potential. And I think that there's a really good chance that we could win. We really could. There's a really good chance that we can win. I don't think he's going to live in Philadelphia, though. I think he's going to go to Haddon, some suburb. He might stay in New York, But I know that there's going to be a lot of craziness around LeBron. I think a lot of people are going to want to find out what restaurant, what cheesesteak. We're going to have the whole cheesy thing. Okay, they're going to do the most. He's going to go around, do his videos. It's going to be like Jalen Hurts all over again, except this is going to be 10 times that, right? Because, we do get flip-floppy with our teams. Now we okay with the Eagles. We still love the Eagles, but now everybody's going to be focused on the 76ers. Now everybody's going to like basketball all over again. It's going to be a lot of we're just going to have a lot of politics. Everybody and mama going to want LeBron James picture. I get it. I don't know if I'll see LeBron anywhere. Who knows? I might find him somewhere. He'll be at a gala or something. But I just already know what's coming down the pipeline. We should all prepare. The way they cut up, Josh Shapiro used his opportunity to make a LeBron James Day in Pennsylvania. Okay? But they're showing their ass. LeBron mania is here. And I get it. The city's happy about it. And I get it. But I also say all this to say it's an opportunity to just say, again, with this city, that we do not have to make bad decisions in order to show our greatness. People like the scrappiness of Philadelphia. People like it. The city did not have to compromise. We did not have to have an arena in Center City to do it. We did not. And that was the narrative. The narrative was, we need to have an arena down in Center City to attract talent. We're not going to be able to get people to want to come to the city. We're not going to get big names. The 76ers is going to struggle. That was all bullshit. All of that was bullshit. It was bullshit. At the end of the day, the 76ers did well over there in that Xfinity Mobile Arena in South Philly, where the new stadium is going to be built right there in South Philly. Okay? South Philly, baby. We don't have to do any relocations or reallocations. It's all good. City council is going to vote on it this fall, but that new arena will be there in South Philly. It is going to be fine. Okay? So look at that. Sometimes you got to have a little bit of faith. A little bit of faith can take you far. There we go. Now, where do I want to go? It's a lot going on. It's a lot to talk about. We'll talk about the Governor Shapiro. I've broke a lot of news about Shapiro this week in more ways than one. I want to talk about the data centers first. There's been some issues, right? So, big story came out on Friday, which is why Shapiro was so hyper-focused, mind you, so hyper-focused on all this chatter around LeBron James. Because the Inquirer reported that Shapiro's administration consulted with Amazon and data centers on his marquee protections, the records show. Quote, emails show the role the technology giants played in influencing the final version of Shapiro's data center guardrails, though that influence only went so far is what they've reported. Now, at the end of the day, we're finding out a lot that behind the scenes, top Shapiro administration aides were working on the framework with the input of Amazon and powerful data centers, lobbying and sharing early drafts with the company officials before making them public. Ew. So this was a part of GRID. Remember I talked about this? Maybe y'all don't. This was a while back. But GRID, Governor's Responsible Infrastructure Development. This was a set of these transparency and environmental standards that he wanted data center developers that they would need to access federal tax breaks. This is what they would need to do in order to access state tax breaks and other incentives that Shapiro asked the General Assembly to write into law. Now, the Democratic-controlled State House approved these standards, but it stalled in the GOP-controlled Senate because they cannot find common ground. Those legislators cannot find common ground. So we don't know what the common ground is. But the problem is that there was a level of consultants, the Pennsylvania Building and Construction Trades Council, Pennsylvania Environmental Council, the National Resources Defense Council, and other people. But data center development is supported mainly by building trade unions across the state. The building trades support data centers because they will likely benefit from these major projects. But there's environmental concerns. And people are not really feeling them. You know? Shapiro claims that is what he has said is that he's been data center friendly. He claims that Pennsylvania should play a core role in, quote, the battle for AI supremacy. I don't really know how I feel about this AI supremacy, Shapiro. Very problematic. But, you know, borderline. That's a reference to Madonna's hit Borderline from the 80s. But it's a little cringy for him to say that. So much of Shapiro's rhetoric has been he does not want to ban or discourage data centers. Very interesting. But this is just him, once again, being a neoliberal, moderate centrist. You know, that's a loaded word. But it's a lot of him just being into that. He's placating. And we see what's happening. So, that's the first thing. But I spoke about this earlier this week. Governor Shapiro has officially appointed former Republican state Representative Seth Grove to be a part of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. This is an institution, as you all know, we talked a lot in depth about PHRC, the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. We talked about this. This was the position that Shapiro had fired Chad Lassiter, who was the executive director. Myself and Chad had that full Ernestly Speaking special edition episode, okay, where we talked about this in depth, about him being ousted. This was earlier this year, all right? Well, since Chad Lasseter's departure, there's been a realignment of new committee members to be a part of that commission. There's been new appointments. Here's the irony. The irony about this is that this agency is tasked with investigating discrimination in employment, housing, education, and public accommodations, and enforces the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act. Former State Rep Seth Grove is a MAGA Republican. He has a long history of pushing anti-trans legislation, and he's been very much active in trying to erase civil rights enforcement with the Pennsylvania, with Pennsylvania laws, okay? He's a MAGA Republican. And this appointment is very weird because not only has he expressed anti-transgender views and policies, he has taken problematic positions on racism. He has previously made remarks that suggested that white men are an oppressed group in America. In 2023, he introduced a House bill called 1435 in 2023 as an attempt to alter how discrimination complaints are handled, as well as trying to improve the state's business climate at what he described as Doge style in 2025. Now, the current interim commission chair of PCHR is none other than Philadelphia City Council member Curtis Jones Jr. I'm just saying. There's a lot going on here. Now, why is Shapiro doing this? I think Shapiro is placating to a certain base. He wants a certain base of people, and it's a lot. He wants to placate to a base. He wants to get his base to support him. He wants people to back him. He wants to appeal to some of these mega Republicans that he thinks he can convert into Democratic voters. I think he's doing a lot right now. There's a lot of delusion. I just think there's a lot of Democratic delusion there. But that is what he's going for right now. I think he wants to appeal to those people. All I'm saying is we all see it. I don't think this man is going to be the next president. I don't see it. I don't personally see it at this point. I just think that he just keeps, I just don't understand. It was the Charlie Kirk flag raising, the little flowery statement saying we got to celebrate this man's legacy. It's just too much. And he keeps doing the whole get shit done. I get shit done, yada, yada, yada. Oh, whatever. My whole thing about the get shit done is that at what cost? Because he's so unapologetic around certain communities and groups that he supports, and he does not yield on that, which I can respect, right? Stand on it. But when it comes to everybody else, when it comes to Black and brown people, when it comes to other communities, he's willing to sell us out to the highest bidder if it can suit his own political interests. He has a line. It's very clear where he draws the line and where he does not draw the line. Yeah. Just saying. And he's got a lieutenant governor, But I know it's kind of but choices were made. So, look, some people will say, well, where is the solutions, right? I would say that there were other Republicans that could have been picked that were not mega Trumpers, that were not necessary. Look, I'll give an example because people say solutions. Here they are. There's a list of Republicans that could have filled this role. Former Senator Pat Brown and Rep. Chris Ross were Republicans that were primary sponsors of legislation to add sexual orientation and gender identity to the Pennsylvania Commission on Human, the PHRC. But this was in specificity the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act. okay, which is also PHRA, right? Those were Republicans that voted for that. Former Senator Jane Errol made sure that narrowly defining marriage didn't end up in the state constitution. These were Republicans. He could have appointed them. Because to be very clear, and I want to make sure that I share the statement that they said, the Shapiro camp, a spokesperson for Shapiro, Rosie Lapolsky, had gave this statement to the Advocate when they reported on this story. She said, quote, the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act legally requires that no more than 6 commissioners belong to the same political party. While candidates are nominated by the governor, they must receive a majority vote in the Senate to be confirmed, and thus any appointments to the PHRC are a collaborative effort between the governor's office and the Senate. Governor Shapiro remains committed to protecting the rights and freedoms of every LGBTQ plus Pennsylvanian. Okay, so that's a word salad, because a lot of this is bullshit. And I'm going to say why that statement is a word salad and bullshit. The governor is the person who nominates candidates to be voted on. You nominated Seth Grove, an anti-trans mega Trumper, to the commission. You didn't have to nominate him. Let's be very clear. Let's not conflate that every Republican in Pennsylvania that's either past or current reflects the type of extremism of Seth Grove. That's not true. Shapiro could have picked other Republicans who are there. I just named some for you all. We're very aware that it cannot be stacked by all Democrats. We know that. We know there has to be some Republicans and others. He could have had other options. He chose this particular man. That was your choice. And you nominated him. And of course, the Senate approved him, but the Senate could have approved other Republicans. This was a non-controversial issue. Why him? If I ever got a chance to interview Shapiro, which he will not take my interviews, it will be the same conversation. The same conversation. Period. So, I broke a big story this weekend that we're going to talk about. Before we get to that, I want to say this real quick. There's been a lot of propaganda from the Park administration on FIFA. They will not stop talking about FIFA. They will not. There was a video, I saw it, the one about was FIFA worth it? Again, a bunch of nothing. A waste of taxpayer dollars on film, lighting, cinematography, gorgeous gowns, beautiful gowns, gorgeous cinematography, lovely cinematography. Nothing was said. Like, I just feel like we're at a point where if people like something, they'll let it lead. I'm reminded every day why Donald Trump got elected. Every day I'm reminded. When I look at the Parker administration specifically, I am reminded how Donald Trump got elected. Because at the end of the day, is what people will allow things to take place. And we see what they're giving. And it's very telling. Very telling. And you see that stuff on a regular basis. On a regular basis. And you get to a point where each of these things, how they show up, how we're consistently finding the supporters, the stands, the political sycophants, that they just want to believe what they want to believe. They know that the logic's not sticking, but they still will stick with it. We see it. The FIFA conversation is deflection. The conversation can't be talked about because we don't have the numbers. If the argument is you got to attract tourists to attract economic, then say you made an investment. Say you want to have fun. Okay, cool. But I think we're talking from two different sides of the conversation. And I think when you're on defense mode, when the administration's on defense mode, they're so busy caught up in trying to be right when the conversation isn't about whether to be right or be wrong. It's just to make sure you get your point across. But I don't even know what the point is. I don't think they know what the point is. I don't think they understand what the purpose is because they're too busy trying to appease every single person that they can't even hammer down on a point. The conversation is going in 5,000 different directions, and I think that they should focus on what the conversation should be. The conversation should just be investment. The argument should not be economic impact. I think they lose the economic impact argument. I know they will. I know that the economic impact is not being felt across the pond. Because I've heard that they're going to spend $75,000 for a consultant, allegedly. I don't know who, I don't know where, but apparently, allegedly, there's $75,000 being spent for a consultant to actually measure the economic impact of FIFA. Like they want to look at it, evaluate the whole thing, and figure out the full number so they can present a report. Good luck. I think what people have to understand is that when you measure economic impact, you can't just talk about who made money. You have to talk about people who lost money in the name of it. You have to assess the losses and also the gains. You have to assess monies that you owe. You have to assess money that you spent. You have to assess money that you're not going to actually generate. So you could say FIFA Fan Festival made $50 million, right? But you got to remember that at that store, that merchandise, the city doesn't make any money from that. So while the city made money, while the festival made money, the conversation becomes how much did the city actually make? And so there's some conflation there, right? Because if you say, look, people spent money on this and that, well, some of that stuff was not actual Philadelphia money, okay? If people spent money at the fan festival, bought those $100-something jerseys, let's be very clear. That's licensing, that's FIFA merch. And what I will tell you is that the city has some vendors gallery that I keep hearing was a flop. I'm not talking about the food vendors. Food vendors was going to make their money because there was food, right? But there was also vendors there, like local vendors that were stationed there. And I got some receipts and I got some things I want to share now. And there might be more to come. But there were vendors who were there that the city had allowed to sell things. They were not making that much money. They were not making that much money. They were not making that much money. And some of them shared their thoughts on my social, and some of the people that were working for the city that was connected with the FIFA group, the FIFA Fan Festival team, they were telling them to delete their comments off of my social media page. They were instructed to. They named names. They said, this person told me on this date that I had to take my comment off because they were looking through my social media, surveilling my posts because of the natural generation. Like my social media page brings out tons of public engagement, like authentic views. Like what I do in many ways, what I say, what I post on social generates a response. Because they know that I'm not manufacturing responses. I'm not manufacturing hype. That I'm a pure, real source of information. A lot of these other people out here that put out information, they curate it in a way that does not actually foster honest discourse, real opinions from real people. You have to have that in a democracy. You have to have that. There has to be a space where actual people can share uncensored, real thoughts. Respectful, right? Like we're not threatening people's lives. We're not doing that. But there's got to be a space for it. And we don't have that. We're not having as much as that. Which now brings me to the big story I broke this past weekend. Shania Bennett, which is the former director for the Office of Youth Engagement, she left the job, okay? She was the youngest member of Mayor Cheryl Parker's cabinet. She was the youngest hire in the Park administration. She is now going public on her resignation. She resigned early this year. It was abruptly. A lot of people were like, wait, why would she quit? What happened? She kind of just left and took a new job somewhere. Well, she has spoken. She broke her silence on social media in her IG stories. and shared some receipts. And she said that pretty much that working for the park administration that job was the worst experience of her life. She said she experienced unprofessional harassment and that she was operating on a $0 budget to run that office, the Office of Youth Engagement. She said she kind of came out of her own pocket. She also publicly alleged that in 2024, she reported her direct supervisor, who's Hassan Freeman, for threatening her on July 20th, 2024. Now, you're going to say, hold up, who was Hassan Freeman? I remember that name. Hassan Freeman, okay, Hassan Freeman was over, he was in a position that is now currently occupied. He was the director of the mayor's office of neighborhood and community engagement. He's the guy who got fired from the city after he allegedly accosted Isaiah Thomas, Councilmember at Large Isaiah Thomas. He rolled up on him in a parking lot. And Tiffany Thurman, who is the park administration's chief of staff, in October of 2025, said Hassan Freeman has been separated from city employment. In other words, he's been fired. This is a personnel matter, and we have no further comment. Okay. Him and another city employee had rolled up on Isaiah Thomas in September, and what Isaiah Thomas described as a negative and disturbing interaction. He said that Freeman and this other employee was waiting for him and spoke to him in a disrespectful manner in a hostile tone, addressing him outside of his name and title. This email, was sent to administration officials on the day of the incident. And it happened at City Hall around 9 a.m. Apparently, a police report was filed. It got serious. Now, apparently, this is connected to former Chief Deputy Mayor Sinceri Harris, who was a part of the Big Three. That apparently Thomas had a tense conversation with her at an event, and that Freeman was addressing him on behalf of Harris, who he had a very close relationship with. While they were both working at the administration. Anyway, apparently, this interaction, I'm choosing my words because words matter. This interaction between Freeman and Thomas led to him being let go. And of course, Anton Moore had replaced him for a higher salary, higher paying position. Well, now we know that Hassan was a problem. That in fact, there was a complaint filed. A complaint was filed. A complaint was filed by Shania. She sent an email and she filed a complaint. Basically, she claims that Freeman said he was going to fuck her up at one point in time. Verbatim. That this was the type of language that he used. This is all a red flag. All a red flag. All a red flag. So here's the stuff. Here's the complaint. So she said this took place. This is according to her screenshots and her showing her complaint. She says, on July 30th, 2024, I was conversing with my colleagues leading up to the close of the workday. As the conversation came to a close, Hassan entered 115, that's the office on the first floor, and I think the second floor actually, and walked into the office helping constituent and as I sat in silence, Hassan Freeman said, "I will fuck you up." I did not respond back to Hassan's comment. My colleagues did not address the comment either. Moments later, Hassan led me into another room of the 115 and told me to wait in this room so I can talk to you. Hassan shut the door to the room and I was alone while my colleagues and the constituents was still, it's blanking, office. Hassan never returned to room 115. Since that incident, I have not had any private or personal communication with Hassan. All communication with Hassan has been work-related. If there are others who have witnessed the incident, please provide their names. She provided the names and phone numbers below. So other people she had bear witness. This was July 30th, 2024 is when this incident took place. Yeah, July 30th. That was 2024. Now, she also shared an email that she sent on May 9th, 2024. Mind you, Shania Bennett left the Parker administration earlier in 2026 this year. So she went through this for nearly 2 years. There was an email. The subject says, concern at 9:30 a.m. Team check-in on May 7th. So this was May 7th, 2024 on a Thursday. She sends this to, since Harry Harris was then deputy mayor, part of the Big Three. Good afternoon. I am forwarding this for your attention. I was completely degraded in front of my coworkers on Tuesday and demanded that when I go to the bathroom to put it in an email. Hassan was present when this incident took place and nothing was done about it. The interactions between Will Mega and I are uncomfortable and I am seeking attention on this matter. I look forward to speaking with you and learning my options to handle this situation in the correct manner. Thank you, Shania Bennett. So she shared this. And it's referring to Will Mega. Now, some of y'all might know who Will Mega is. I know who Will Mega is. Will Mega ran for state rep many years ago. He was the first person in Survivor history to be eliminated, and he's from Philadelphia. He works for the Parker administration. Interesting enough, last week he just went viral because he did that video praising the Parker administration, saying dope, dope, and everybody had revealed who he was and all the things. Now we find out that this same guy may have been very problematic, allegedly, with a young woman named Shania Bennett. She was 24 years old. And Will Mega is much older. He's old enough to be potentially, I believe he's old enough to be her father. And apparently the way in which he was talking to her was a very unprofessional, uncomfortable way, is what's being alleged in this email. Will Mega still works for the city. Shania does not. It appears that she was in a toxic work situation that led her to leaving this job. I'm just saying. Everybody can't be lying. Everybody can't be lying. Everybody can't be lying. It can't be everybody else's fault. The Park administration has been quiet about this. They want to sweep it down the rug. Apparently, the public at large sees it. Over 3,000 people have liked the post as of the recording of this podcast. Folks are aware of what's going on. We'll see what happens next. Now, I want to talk about this for this week's Ask Ernest. I want to talk about this. Propaganda is at an all-time high, as I mentioned earlier. There has been a lot of things being said. On my show, on the record with Ernest on 96.1 FM 900 AM Progressive Black Talk Media, I had a Parker stan get in the comments. And there's been this interesting conversation. And I think, again, I get sharper as I get older on how I speak about my experiences and my education, my knowledge of certain things. I am unapologetic about the type of journalism I do and why. I think where I'm at with it is that there are people like, oh, you can say positive things and this, that, and the third. And I want to be very frank about this. I think the problem about some people is that they want to fit you in a box about what they want you to do to please them. And I'm very clear on what my purpose is and what I do. And I'm not going to shrink myself, and I'm not going to appease certain people that want those certain things. When I look at the local news and people tell me to do it, if you want to put on rose-colored glasses and you want to be through an illusion about what's going on. Look, homelessness in Philadelphia has decreased in the past year. It's a fact. That's what the numbers are saying. Great. There's tons of people in this city that is going to distract you all from what the serious issues are happening that involves everyday life. You know who says that the journalists do not cover positive things about the Trump administration? The Trump administration. Positive and negative is all subjective. I think for me, I'm an adversarial journalist. My job is to investigate and unearth information that you don't know. My job is not to tell you things you know or to create devil's advocate for stuff that you do. I am the mirror, and I show you the things that you see and may not see. I'm not in the business of doing PR for any elected official, right? Especially when I'm not given the access to do that, right? So people say, oh, you don't say anything positive that's going on with the Tark administration. I do when I find things that are relatively positive. But to be very clear, it's not my job to necessarily find 1,000 things to offset the overpower of shit that's also happened in administration. I think that the delusion is that in certain spaces, people want you, like the Trump administration, people want you to find and create an equivalency and a balance that does not exist. What I mean by that is that if you're dealing with a bunch of drama, then that's what you have to cover. When there are other things that do counter that, you can talk about those things. But let's be very clear. I share statements from the Parker administration on my IG stories. But reiterating the things the Parker administration do when I know they have not given me any access to really dive in depth about it, I mean, what am I to do? Do you all know what adversarial journalism is? Like, let's say the Parker administration did something, whatever, if you want to call it positive. I feel like the positive, negative conversation, negative is the wrong way that we should discuss these things. We should not discuss these things in like qualitative ways. I just feel like when we do the negative, positive, it's subjective. Because what's positive to you might be negative to somebody else. What's negative to you might be positive for somebody else. I just think that when we try to have that kind of conjecture with news itself, we run down a rabbit hole, in my opinion. I don't play into the positive, negative news. I don't. But for them, right, their subjectiveness is that they're saying things that make them favorable. Well, I mean, I could do that. Feed what you tell me. Believe everything you say. And I could be a puppet. There's other people that make silly little reels that do that. And they look at what I do and they want to expand on that. I know what propaganda looks like when we see entities mimic voices and takes, and they try to use that to counter the information. We see that. The Trump administration do it every day. They have their people that they feed information to carry their messaging. There's an op in the media ecosystem right now in Philadelphia. On social media, there's an op. I'm not going to name their name, but there's an op that is very clear, right? This person is not a journalist, but they're dancing in media spaces. And they're an op. They are basically pushing the rhetoric and talking points in the administration in a way that is subjective, deceptive, and tries to give people the impression that there is some equilibrium of merit, sure. But they're playing into the rhetoric for access, favorability for the administration. I won't name their name. I don't have to. You all see it. You might like the person personally. I know the person. They know me. We've been in spaces together. I'm not in the business of creating propaganda. If you want to hear devil's advocate, browbeating, brown-nosing for the park administration, you can easily go to that page and you can easily consume the propaganda. They're pulling strings right now. They're struggling to have to get into spaces where they don't know information, and they're mocking and they're being condescending and they're trying to find ways to be obtuse. I think people are catching on to the bullshit. I don't have to say anything. I don't engage. I tell people, when people send me these videos, these reels, these things, I say, look, I don't respond to propaganda. I'm not going to address propaganda on site. I see it. If you see it, what do? Use your voice as the viewer. Let the people know how you feel. Unsubscribe, unfollow, mute. Wasn't silence not an option? But these people are showing you who they are. They're showing you what they believe in. And as I said earlier this past weekend, I will say it again. Listen, we're at a time where passiveness is being confused with peacefulness, where conflict avoidance is desired more than accountability, where political propaganda is reframed as positive news, where investigative journalism is treated as sensationalism by those who lack the talent, skill, or courage to speak truth to power, where people defend those who personally serve their self-interest more than standing up for the truth, the actual truth, where loyalty is confused with blind allegiance, where challenging political authority in a democracy is treated as treason, where people defend fascism as long as the leader fits the representational politics they desire. That is where we're at. That is where we're at. I see it for what it is. And I'm very clear on the terms and the conditions. And so now I tell you all, y'all see it. You see what's happening. You see who's playing both sides. You see who's capitulating. You see it. You see it in the rhetoric. You see it in the talking points. You see it in equivocation. You see it. You see it. And I just think at this point, let these people know. Speak up. Let them know. Because they walk around with a hubris that make people think that what they're doing is okay. It is not. So that's all I got to say on that. Moving along, Snoop Dogg has Snoop Dogg has a biopic coming out in June, next June, that's happening. A Snoop Dogg biopic. Did we need one? Do we want one? I guess. Black Panther 3. I'm excited about this. I thought we were, look, Black Panther Wakanda Forever was an all right sequel. It was decent. We didn't know if it was ever going to get another T'Challa. Well, there's a new actor that's going to take the role as his son. They're not going to replace him, which I think is very telling. This actor is a black British actor. Another one, right? And I know a lot of people got thoughts about this. This actor is David Johnson. Now, if you don't know who David Johnson is a rising star. He is like 33 years old. He turned 33 on September 4th, Beyonce's birthday. But he's a British actor. He has a career on the West End. He was in this very, very, his performance in this movie called The Long Walk, which I thought should have gotten him an Oscar nomination, but it was too indie. But this movie called The Long Walk, if you have not seen it, if you don't know what kind of acting he's bringing to the table, I encourage you to watch it. Now, he's been on other shows. He's been on Industry, Rye Lane, Alien Romulus that came out in 2024. But I first found out about him in this movie called The Long Walk. He, to me, should have gotten a Best Actor nomination at the Oscars. I felt like that performance was highly underrated. He had a lot of potential. He won the BAFTA Rising Star Award. This guy has some chops, okay? Damson Idris, who? Okay, I'm not going to compare. But I would say this guy, David Johnson, him getting the role, I'm actually excited for him. I actually think that this was smart because what I would tell people is that when you give people these roles, an opportunity like this is a star turn. This performance, this opportunity, this movie comes out in 2028. This performance will give this guy, it comes out December 2028, the new Black Panther. This is a star turning role. This will put him this is like a Michael B. Jordan opportunity, like a star vehicle. Like what this role would do for him is what Creed did for Michael B. Jordan. I think David Johnson is a better actor, but at this point, Michael B. Jordan got the Oscar for Best Actor, so I guess I can't even question his acting abilities anymore. But I think David Johnson is the next big thing. And I think a performance, this is an opportunity. Like I said, you're going to hear about him and see more of him. But I want to just say that roles like this, you give it to a star, a rising talent. Damson Idris, he's gotten some big moves. He's gotten some big opportunities. We've already seen what it done for, David Kaluuya, what that did for him. Or Daniel Kaluuya. He's an Oscar-winning actor, right? We've seen what these opportunities would do for certain actors. I think David Johnson got next. I think he's got next. I think if he nails this role, we're going to be having a different conversation about him very, very soon. So I like the pick. I think it's good. I think some people are going to have some thoughts because once again, the foundational Black American is going to say, why don't we have a Black American actor play the role? Listen, I hear all of that. And I think there's points made. I just think right now Hollywood's got to do a better job. And I think we got to do a better job of developing more Black American actors. Michael B. Jordan is one. He just won the Oscar for Sinners. But he's already been in the Black Panther series. I don't know what other Black American actor that is promising that could have played that role right now. We just got to do a better job of generating, because the Black male British actor pipeline is heavy, baby. There's a lot of Black male British actors that got it. They just do. They got the star talent right now. David Boyega, Danielle Kaluuya, Reginae Jean Page, or Page, or whatever, Page. I'm butchering names right now. You got a couple of them. Chiwetel Ejiofor, but he's much older. Kingsley Ben-Adir, David Harwood. You got a couple of them. We just got to do a better job of curating this talent. But they're killing it right now. Just saying. So, there's some conversations right now. Oscar watch, because y'all know I'm on it. First of all, The Odyssey is killing it. They've passed the $600 million mark at the box office. $87 million of domestic box office. They're still crushing it. Clearly, this movie is the movie of the summer, right? The big summer smash. There's some conversation about Anne Hathaway. A lot of y'all have now seen Odyssey. So there's some conversations right now. Don't put y'all on game because I do Oscar watch. Now, there's some chatter, and I knew this was going to happen. The team behind Odyssey is trying to figure out what they're going to do with Oscar campaign because they got to put people up for categories, right? I am hearing that clearly Matt Damon is going for Best Actor. They're going to do a campaign for Matt Damon. Clearly he's the lead actor. Best Supporting Actor, there's been some conversations, right? Robert Pattinson, is it John Leguizamo? I think they should really push John Leguizamo. I think John Leguizamo for Best Supporting Actor, I think there's a chance for him. I think there's a conversation to be had, in my opinion. Now, John Leguizamo gets on my nerves with some of his other politics elsewhere. However, I think for his performance, I think there's a case to be made. I think we can all agree that Tom Holland is not going to be in any conversation for awards nominations. It's not happening for him. I think Robert Pattinson, a lot of people are thinking maybe there could be a chance for him. I think the performance is solid. I don't know. There's an interesting conversation to be had. However, there is a conversation about Best Supporting Actress, and the conversation is getting intense. Now, I felt like Christopher Nolan don't really do lead actresses. He rarely do. And I thought that conversation should be that, you know what? I think Anne Hathaway is a lock-in for Best Supporting Actress in this movie. I think that, you know, does she have a lot of screen time in the film? Yes, but I think it's a very meeting supporting role, and I think that the way the role is it lead? I'm not sure about it. I like the performance. I think that she will definitely get an Oscar nomination either way. However, Samantha Morton's short performance as Cersei in the Odyssey, I told y'all that she ate. And now there's chatter that people really want to nominate her for Best Supporting Actress. And Samantha Morton is alone. She's an actor's actor. And a lot of people think that she could win. And a lot of people think that she did such a great job that she was the breakout star of this entire situation. Everybody cannot stop talking about Samantha Morton's performance. I haven't seen a brief performance this good since Viola Davis in Doubt, when everybody knew that Amy Adams was supporting, everybody knew Philip Seymour Hoffman was supporting, and of course Meryl Streep was lead in Doubt. But no, everybody could not stop talking about Viola Davis's brief, 6-minute performance and how she ate. And it was so damn good that her first Oscar nomination was an unexpected one, but her performance in Doubt got her that nomination, and she killed it. I haven't seen a brief performance in a film that was that short that ever motivated me to say Oscar nomination, but Samantha Morton does it, and she does it well. And so now there is concerns within the campaign for Odyssey, the camp, that maybe they should put Anne Hathaway in the Best Lead Actress category because they really cannot, they don't want to see them clashing for supporting. A lot of people love Anne Hathaway's performance in it, and I argue that I'm struggling with it because I don't know if it's category fraud, because I don't know if it is category fraud. I don't know. I struggle with it. Is it really, was Anne Hathaway's performance lead or supporting? I don't know. I struggle. Now, I know category fraud because I'm going to bring it back to Viola Davis. Viola Davis, that was category fraud when they put her in supporting for Fences, where she won her only Oscar thus far. She should have been in lead actress, but she was afraid she wasn't going to get the Oscar going against Emma Stone for La La Land. I get it. Okay? We saw this with Alicia Vikander in The Danish Girl. That was a lead actress performance, but they put her in supporting so she can get the Oscar. Okay? Now, they should have put her in supporting for El Macchiato and gave her 2 Oscar nominations, but I digress for that year. That's another conversation for another day. Now, back to this category conversation. Here's what I think. I think that, you know what, put Anne Hathaway in Best Lead Actress in the nomination category. She's having a great year. She's in all these goddamn films. She's got to get an Oscar nomination for one of them. And I think the one that she got the biggest chance of getting a nomination for is for The Odyssey. It is the Oscar vehicle. It is a strong role. She's been The Devil Wears Prada 2. Not an Oscar nomination for me. Maybe a Golden Globe nomination. Who knows? But I do think that this is her strongest bet at an Oscar nomination out of all the films. Now, Mother Mary, I liked. But I think the film is too polarizing to get a nomination. But I think that she needs to walk away with an Oscar nomination. All these damn films, she should be walking away with something. Now, here's the thing. I felt like if you put her in Best Supporting Actress and she was a sole nominee, she gets the Oscar. Put her in lead, she may not get the Oscar because there is a lot of competition. And a lot of people are feeling the performance of the one actress in, a lot of people like Emily Blunt in Disclosure Day, but it's not as popular. It's not as popular. It's not. I think a lot of people are struggling with Disclosure Day. I didn't think it was that bad. But Obsession, the lead actress in Obsession, people think she can get a nomination. But you know how the Oscars are with horror films. I don't think she'll win, but a lot of people think that, Indy Navarrete is a lock-in, the woman who played Nikki Freeman. They think she's a lock-in for a Best Actress nomination. I could see that. I could see it. I just don't know if she stands a chance of actually winning. I'm not so on the win for her. But there's a lot of other actresses that are coming through this year that I think the Best Actress, lead actress conversation might be tough, but we don't know yet. We don't know. But I feel like there's a lot of performances that are going to be juggling, because you also got my girl who is another great actress, Sandra Hüller, who, Anatomy of Fall, baby, she could have got the Oscar for that. But I think Sandra Hüller is making some waves. Okay, Project Hail Mary, people think she could get a supporting actress nomination for that. She got a couple of other films coming out that this Digger film with Tom Cruise. You heard it here first. Digger with Tom Cruise. Watch out. Tom Cruise is coming for that Oscar, baby. He ain't never won a competitive Oscar. He might go for it there. So we got to watch out for that as well. But there's a lot of conversations in contention. But I definitely think there's something to be said for that. Now, where I stand with it is, I think Samantha Morton should go in the supporting actress category. I think they should go ahead and put Anne Hathaway in the lead actress category. Anne Hathaway's shot of winning an Oscar, well, the potential of her winning is definitely significantly has decreased, but she will get nominated nonetheless. That's what I would do. Now to music. Charlie XCX's new album, okay? Music, fashion, film. Surprising, I liked it. I didn't know I was going to like the album. I like it. It's very short, though. It's like 30 minutes long. But it's good. It's a good album. I'm still on Confessions, baby. I can't let go of Confessions. Is it as good as Brat? No. Brat is Brat, and Brat's going to forever be Brat Summer. However, that's not the goal. I think what Charlie XCX did very well with this album, and I can appreciate, it is a rock album. It is an alternative soft rock album. It's not a dance album. She gets away from that. Is that she was avoiding sophomore slump in her 7th album. She pivots away. A lot of people thought that given that Brat was that breakthrough album for her, that she was going to struggle with potentially falling flat. She does not. This is a refreshing album. It's a good album. I don't know if I'll put in an album in the year conversation, but maybe, out of 10 albums, if they got 10 albums in the Grammy category, why not? Why not? I don't know. Why not? I don't think it's winning. I don't think it's a major contender, but I'm okay with the conversation. I think it's one of the best albums of 2026 thus far. I could see it getting nominated for album of the year, possibly. I just don't know. I don't think she has a lead. I don't think she has a lead record that's going to push that album. The songs that she do have are really short. Wink Wink is cool, but I don't know. She's got to have a strong record that's going to help her. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. Number 1 album this week coming out is Gracie Abrams' album, Daughter from Hell. It's not bad. It's not bad either. And I think that's what we're dealing with, right? It's very interesting. Yeah. It's a lot going on. I think the album is good. It's good for her. It's her career best, Gracie Abrams. But I don't know. I just feel like we have so many albums that are saying the same thing. It's always the white girl, somber energy. I don't know. And that's why I also appreciated Madonna and also Lorde, because Lorde was saying something about art that I can appreciate. I can appreciate that album. I just feel like so many of these other albums are just very diary-esque notions. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah. Yeah. Just, yeah. I'm going to leave it there. Now, what I want to address, because this came on my list. Well, first of all, let me just say this. The album's number one. Okay, it's the number one album in the country. Next week, this upcoming week, Ariana Grande's album's coming, Pedal. I'm excited about that album. I mean, it's the only album I got left to look forward to before Grammy nominations that begin to wrap up. I'm looking forward to Ariana Grande's new album. I'm happy that Hate That I Made You Love Me is still being played in this house on nonstop. It is one of my favorite songs of the year. And it's just so good. And I really look forward to this album. This is the album I'm waiting for. I'm waiting forward to this album. I think this album is the album. I'm just everything about it. So I'm looking forward to this album. Gracie Abrams' album was okay. Charlie XCX album was good. It's good. It's good. But I want to talk about this Usher situation. So I don't know if y'all heard about this, but during his performance at Nashville during the Raymond and Brown tour, this whole tour has been full of drama and mess. But he invited a woman on stage during the performance of Can You Handle It from Confessions, which is a hot song, a steamy song. Oh, it's just an iconic lovemaking song. He brings her on stage and he's shirtless and he kneels behind a bed prop. He begins his sensual routine. She initially goes along with it, but she appears very uncomfortable the more they get into it. And he knows her reaction, and he backs away. And he looks at the crowd with a confused expression. And he simply says to the audience, I don't think she want to be on stage. And so he removes his earpieces and gestures, appearing to signal that she should leave the stage. Well done, Usher. Well done. Well done. My thing is, here's the thing. Consent is key. Words, actions, and all the things. Even if she chose to go on the stage. If it's obvious the girl's uncomfortable, I don't know why she did it. Maybe she just wanted the attention, who knows? But Usher was like, because Usher wants consent. I think these dance things are a little too much at this point. This is a married man. Well, I don't know. Everybody's marriages are different. I just don't understand why Usher feel like he got to do all that anyway. I mean, but he's still in his teen fantasies of his his olden days when he was a sex symbol in R&B. Still is, but it's just like, I don't know. But what the guy's got to do. When I went to Usher concert, it was the cherry thing, which was, a lot more manageable. This whole dance, but I guess because Chris Brown's doing it, he still feel like he got something he got to prove. I guess. But I digress. So with TV, I wanted to say this. ABC, not ABC, Apple TV marketing. There's been a lot of chat on the internet about this. I think it's funny. Everybody's been talking about this with Apple TV. Look, I struggle with Apple TV, like whether I like it or not, like how I feel about the programming. But I must say that they might be one of the worst marketers of their shows. They got Cape Fear, Dope Thief, Shrinking, Ted Lasso, The Studio, Pluberous, Widow's Bay. But it's crazy because they don't really be gassing their shows enough. I don't feel like Apple TV be really telling you how much they got at the gyms. They got some of the best quality TV shows lately. But they don't really market as hard as they should. Because a lot of people don't be knowing about these shows. A lot of people are not watching Apple TV. I just started watching it because I had to review stuff for Emmy stuff, but a lot of people don't even know. A lot of the shows, I watch screeners, so I'm not watching these directly on Apple TV personally, but I'm getting screeners. And when I found out how many of these things were through Apple, I was like, excuse me? That's Apple TV? Apple did that show? How? Severance is Apple. I was baffled by how much Apple was involved in TV. Anyway, they suck at their marketing. They need to do a better job. And I agree with the internet when they said this. And so, For those of you who all have been watching Chasing LA on YouTube, because now I don't just watch TV on TV. I watch TV on my laptop. I watch shows like Chasing LA, right? I'm excited about Chasing LA. I just watched the 3rd episode. They come out every Thursday, and sometimes there's delays. But if you've been watching with me live, y'all been watching with me, I just want to say this. The person who I'm cool with, that is the star of the show, in my opinion, is none other than David Cunningham. A lot of you all were like, who is the person that Ernest is talking about? David Cunningham is what I'm talking about. And then y'all remember, me and him partied together with my good friend John Pierre at the Grammys. We went to parties together. David Cunningham is a very controversial figure in the public. You can Google him. Stories will pop up. But he is somebody who is a Libra. We're Libra twins. He's younger than me, but we have the same birthday, October 12th. And he is trying to rebrand to be a different person. And I think there's always a space for grace and people to evolve. And I know a lot about him, a lot that is not being shared on the show. But I encourage y'all to watch the show to see his journey. He is quite fascinating as a person. And, you know, he's doing some things. He's working on himself. But he's had a very fascinating life as someone as young as him. He has a very interesting life. And I know him, and you know, I think people that just are bold and live in their truth and do what they do and can own their story is always like just powerful to me. Like, I think when you can walk in a situation and be called certain things, be told about your life, and you can sit there and own your shit and say, yeah, I did that, I did whatever, but y'all not gonna, that's the type of person I fuck with. When you can be self-accountable to yourself and your journey, your story. No one can ever shame me about who I am or what I've done in my past. No one can ever shame me about my beefs, my dramas, my ups and my downs, my friendships, my breakups. All that. I will own my story. I will tell my story better than anybody can tell my story. No one will ever shame me about my life and who I am and what I do. I will always be able to own my story. And when you have self-agency and self-confidence, a lot of people that think they can shame you, they don't know how you can turn your lemons into lemonade. And I fucks with it. So just wanted to say that. Watch Chasing LA every Thursday. It's free. It's on YouTube. It's a great show. It's fun to watch. So that concludes this week's episode. I'm looking forward to this final week as we get into August, getting ready for Martha's Vineyard. This week, I'm not at the Vineyard. I'm in Philly this week. But next week, next Monday, y'all, I will be on a flight to the Vineyard for the whole week. All right. I'm enjoying it. I've been vacation. I love my mini vacations. I love it. Mr. Johnson and I are going to have our own couples. We just love it. I love that I can vacation the way I do. Multiple vacations. I did Orlando. We did the Disney World. We're doing the Vineyard. We're just having fun. We're loving it. And I know some of y'all saw my new Telfeezy. You know, I've been having a lot of Telfar bags. I love them. But this new Telfar bag, they call it the summer bag. They come in 2 colors. They might be sold out. Let me actually look for y'all while I'm saying this, because I don't know. I might have made the bag sell out. But Telfar has a new bag. They call it the summer bag. I love the summer bag. I'm gonna find out the summer bag is sold out before I get y'all all excited. Okay, so it's called the braided bag. I have the black one. So the cream one sold out. It's called the braided t-shirt bag. It's a slouchy summer bag made of hand-braided strips of t-shirt with magnetic closure and branded leather patch. It's available in black and cream. It fits a laptop. It is your daily survival kit. Now, I own that bag now. I have the black one. I don't have the cream one. I could have got the cream one, but I wanted the black one. The bag for people, if you're interested in purchasing, it is $185. Now, it might sell out, though. Like, you better hurry up if you want it. It's only one size. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful bag. Y'all gonna see me rocking it. If y'all see me out about, y'all gonna see me rocking it all summer and in the motherfucking fall. Because this kind of bag, I feel like you can go out and wear it at any time. It's beautiful. And I'm going to rock this bag. It's my new bag. Y'all gonna catch me out in these streets. You're gonna see that braided bag. It is still Telfeezy, baby. But I do love my mini bag. But I do want to wear the mini bags. Not the mini bags, I'm sorry. The medium bags. I don't have the mini bags. I know there's like the little small ones now. I might get that and add it to one of my bags, but I'm not in a rush. Telfar got all these brand new bags out if you're interested. They have also, Telfar has also this new bag that came out that everybody's been teasing about. This new, it's called the Charm Bag. And you can like add it to your other bags that you have. And they're very small and cute. They're like baby charms. They're like little mini wallet bags, but you can add them to your bags. They're $78, which is very affordable. They in all the different colors. Well, not all the colors. They have like certain ones. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. They have 11. They have the main ones, the silver, the pearl, the chocolate. They have the black. They have the black rainbow. They have the ballerina color. They have the acid color. They have the major colors that people know them for. But you can like attach them to your medium bags, not just mediums, because that might be too much, but your large bags, and they're like little small little baby charm bags. They're cute. They're $78, inexpensive, but they're cute. But I wanted my braided bag, and it is beautiful. And when you catch me out with it, you know what's up. So, yes, that is what I'll say. But yeah. And if they sell out, they do have the leather bags. If you want the leather carry bags, those bags are on sale right now. The mediums, large, extra large. I have one of those bags. They're leather. They are on sale right now if you want the leather carry bags. I have a black one that I carry with, that I wear. But they do have those as well. They're on sale. Like the large one, the medium size one is $390. The large one is $580, but it is good leather though, and they're in different colors. So they're there. You know, if you're into the styles and the fashions, what do I know? Just putting y'all on game. Well, I look forward to this week. Enjoying the final days of July. Looking forward to August. Looking forward to getting ready for the vineyard. Expect an episode from me this week as the world turns, as Philly turns. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.